in the second wild card spot. The exact same place they were a week ago before all this can't score a run thing happened. 913-912-4810. So we'll talk some Royals today. We will hang out with Cynthia Freeland today in the 11 o'clock hour, NFL Network analytics expert. Get her thoughts on this Chiefs team. They are 3-0. Some other teams that are defeated or undefeated or look like maybe they are contenders, pretenders. And also get her thoughts on some of the offense around the NFL. How much is it just this crazy new defense? I don't know if you guys heard about this, but the NFL and NFL defensive coordinators came together a couple of years ago, and they did a big summit. It was like Tight End U, just for defensive coordinators, and they came together, and they all designed a perfect defense that offenses cannot beat, and it's called the Cover 2. And just like 2 years ago. They were like two high safeties just like 2 years ago. They invented this defense that's never been seen before, and offensive coordinators are just flabbergasted. They're bamboozled by it. There's no idea.
Did defensive coordinators have strokes collectively? Why did they ever stop doing this?
Well,
why did defensive coordinators
stop
ever
doing
go?
What? They just started it 2 years ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's this unbelievable. Nobody can figure it out. Like, how do you beat this defense? They got safeties way out there. They got 9 guys, but safeties are like playing in the other field.
Dylan actually might know this. Was this also part of what put Bill Belichick this game plan in the Hall of Fame when he was a DC?
No, that was
too, man.
That was one game plan against the Bills in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Bud Grant of the Steelers in the 70s invented the Cover 2. Jason is using what we call sarcasm.
No, I know
No,
he's
he did not.
being
This
sarcasm.
was DCU. It was
No,
like
you're
Tight End
right.
University
My
2
bad.
years ago.
DCU,
My
yeah.
point
Led
is,
by Spags.
By the OG Wink Martindale, right?
Yes, exactly right.
It's
Wink
been
was there.
since the 70s, and
Yeah.
somehow, why did DCs ever get away from this?
Buddy Ryan was like, hold on. You're going to have 2 guys play way out there? So you're not going to have 11 guys on the line of scrimmage. You're not going to have 11 guys all lined up at the line of scrimmage? Okay, good luck stopping an offense, you dummy. They're going to run it right down your throat. You're kidding me? They're going to gain like at least 3.8 yards per carry against you. You can't win a football game like that, all right? Good luck, guys. You're going to give up like at least 21 points in a game. You're not winning if you give up 21 points in a game. All right, so we'll talk with Cynthia Freeland about this newfound defense and the impenetrable defensive coordinator's new game plan. We'll hear from the Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and we'll see who else is at the podium today, 11:45 or so. Mick Schaefer in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll also talk with Braden Gall today. And what a perfect day to have Braden Gall on today. What a perfect day to have Braden. We planned this, guys. Hey, guys, I planned it. We planned it. That we were going to have Braden Gall on today. We wanted to make sure that Matthew Sluka had already announced his intentions to redshirt and then transfer based on what he believes were conversations that were not fulfilled by UNLV as the starting quarterback there, and things that were, I guess, promised or discussed that UNLV has not held up their end of the bargain, according to the quarterback for UNLV, the undefeated UNLV team. Team that is one of the favorites to make the college football playoff as the automatic qualifier from the group of 5, that is now losing their starting quarterback, who is also their leading rusher for UNLV. And 3 games in, comes at the bye. Typically, you make quarterback changes at the bye week anyway, so that was smart for him to wait for the bye week to do that. But he is now redshirting and transferring over an NFL or an NIL dispute. And we will talk with Braden Gall about that. We'll talk about it here in the first hour, too, because this story is unbelievable. It's the biggest story of the day, and I think it's going to be a big story for a while in college football. We'll also talk about it with Mick Schaefer as well, get his thoughts on some of these things, because we've seen so many different players in college football transfer in and out, the transfer portal, NIL. I got lots and lots and lots of thoughts. There are so many different angles and layers to this particular story.
It's like an onion.
Yeah, you keep peeling that back, or as the Texas reporter said, when you unfold this onion, that and you see Steve Sarkisian, who is extraordinary. When you takes an extraordinary coach here at Texas, and Coach Sarkisian, you are extraordinary. Which, when you break down extraordinary into that, the emphasis there to sort of have that pause between it, it does sound like somebody's. It's like a
boring.
It's like damning with faint praise. You are extraordinary. You're not just ordinary. You are very ordinary. You're the most ordinary person I've ever met. No, he's not. He's extraordinary. I know that's what I said. No, you didn't. You said he was just ordinary, and then you said, "Oh, he's extraordinary." So weird to do that. But anyway, Steve Sarkisian was extraordinary, according to that Texas reporter. Although he might have been right. But anyway, that's besides the point. He was unfolding an onion. All right, we're peeling back the layers of this onion.
Well, if you're unfolding an onion, it's a bloomin' onion, which means it's probably pretty darn good.
Yeah, so
that's the most Texas thing. It's
damned bloomin' onion.
It's a fried onion, so you have to fold it back.
I just thought if you use it like that, it's like, that's a bloomin' onion. It sort of sounds like a bloody onion, like in England. That's a bloody onion, a bloody punk.
What goes through your mind, Jason?
There's a lot of things, Sterling. Welcome to the show. Put the seatbelt on, man.
It's like Alice Cooper. Welcome to my nightmare.
Put the seatbelt on. This is the show, man. There's going to be a lot of different thoughts that just randomly stream of consciousness by 7 different people that are there. A lot of people up there just having
like Split.
It's a turf war right now.
Great movie.
There's a constant turf war going on about who wants to talk and who really wants to get their opinion out there.
You're like, that was Patricia. But that was Patricia right
we
there.
We call her Patty sometimes. It's Pat. 913-912-4810 is the text line. So we will get into that story. Again, incredibly fascinating story. Sucks for UNLV. But there's a lot of different areas that we can talk about with this, including the local connection with this as well. Let's start with the Royals. Everybody calm down. Everybody. It's like Lamaze. Calm, breathing into a paper bag, right? Don't hyperventilate. Grip the bat a little bit less hard, right? Try less hard. Try easier. And go score a run. That's all. Just score a run. What did it get to? 27 innings?
Mm-hmm.
27 innings. That's 3 straight shutouts if you're my quick math. 27 innings without scoring a run. And I'm pretty sure they stranded an entire cul-de-sac.
Struggling.
I can, Joe. All right.
How?
I wish somebody would have.
anymore.
I wish somebody would have kissed a baseball at that time with a bat. I want to kiss you right now. Thanks, Joe. Yeah. The most underrated part of that whole clip was after she said, "Thanks, Joe." Yeah.
I just always love the struggling. How many more innings do you think? Like, what inning of baseball? Would it still be playing? Would it be like inning like
They had to put a runner at second base and they got an error.
216? If there was no ghost runner right now, like it's still going.
They had to put a runner at second base, and it still took
an error,
a hesitation, double clutch error to score the run, man.
And I texted you before when Joey Gallo pinch hit. I was so nervous. I go, how Royals would it be if Joey Gallo just hit a walk-off home run right now?
I
and he hit that ball, and I go,
dude.
No.
I texted my brother and nephew. I said, if they walk this off, the season's over. They're not going to recover from this. When you go out there and you strand, you load the bases in the first and third inning and get no runs, especially no outs in the first. You can't get anybody to get a 2-out hit to come through. You had runners in scoring position almost every inning. And if you lose 1-0 in the bottom of the ninth, or you lose 2-1 with a walk-off home run in the 10th, that would be absolutely crushing. They can talk about trying to keep everything together all they want, but that would be as deflating. The only saving grace would be, okay, you wake up and yes, that's fine. You're 1 game behind the Tigers, but who cares about that? It's the Twins, and you're still a game up. You're still a game up on Minnesota. They lost to the Marlins. That would be the trying to reconcile what took place last night. But that's not what took place, because Joey Gallo, is it Callow? Joey Gallo. Callow with the C. Joey Gallo. It's my cousin Vinny, Sterling. That was somebody else that got through there.
Okay.
Somebody else there was watching my cousin Vinny at that exact time and decided they wanted to weigh in. Here's how it felt. Clip number 3. Here's how it felt on that Joey Gallo swing as experienced by every Royals fan across the world.
Belted to right field. Hooking.
Go foul, go foul.
Stay fair! Stay fair, stay fair!
Go foul, go foul!
It's fair! It's fair!
It's foul!
Foul?
Please go foul.
No! Foul. Wow. My heart stopped.
I think that's exactly how everybody felt. As soon as that ball went foul, in my mind I was like, Holy bleep. That's
Sterling had just texted
that's
us.
rookie of the
this
year.
This can't happen right here.
It's like, holy bleep, that's rookie of the year. Like, the foul, go foul, stay fair, go foul, go. It's fair, it's foul, it's fair, it's foul. That ball felt like it was fly, even though it was, I mean, that was the exact time it took. Like, that's real time what we just played there, so roughly 35 seconds that ball flew in the air.
A lot of hang time.
It's weird. It's weird. That
Punters are jealous.
That was a rise.
Statcast right there.
That was a rise. That's right. That was a rise. That was NFL plus Pro that gave us those numbers. It wasn't literally that long, but didn't it feel that long? Didn't it feel like that ball was floating? It was like slow motion when it panned to the right, when you saw the foul pole, and it felt like that was slow motion going towards the foul pole. I had a feeling it was going foul by Gallo's sort of lean, because I don't know that I think he might have been leaning, and if it was leaning and it was going to be fair, he might have already started walking to first. But the lean is in like, that's not going to stay fair. And Lefevre hooking. Those 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet might have saved the entire season. Those 5 feet of that hooking might be the difference of them playing baseball next week and not. Like, legit, I think if that's – what do you think, Jack? If that's a fair ball, what do you think happens?
Yeah, I mean, you could have woken up this morning and, as you said, believe that, well, the Twins are collapsing worse than us. They were never really in that game against Miami, which they've got issues of their own.
They do.
But I think you can take away what Bobby said in the postgame about, scoring a run, but then just winning. He's like, we can breathe a little easier now. Not to lose focus here, but it's not going to surprise me whatsoever tonight if the offense puts up 5 or 6 runs.
I expect them maybe to score 5 or 6 runs. Like, honestly, like, I don't know why, but I do.
It's just one of those things in baseball that once you get the monkey off your back, once you finally can wake up one morning and say, oh, we won, and not only did we win, Minnesota and Seattle lost. So you look at the margin of error those teams have. Now you do have a little bit of a cushion, and you saw so many times last night and all last week, anytime there was a big moment, nobody, even Bobby and Salvi, did not look comfortable up there. They were down 0-1. They were down 0-2. And it was almost these defensive swings where when you saw when they were rolling, those guys would ambush pitches. They were hitting them in the gaps. They were getting lucky here and there. And that's baseball. That happens. But I think the best part about last night, and I think Lucas Erceg hopefully will throw a lot more pitches the rest of this year because of the postseason. I don't think he will throw a pitch that poorly in that spot.
I can't believe
Are you talking about the
Ever.
hanging slider that someone looked at?
86.
I just
No, the one at Gallo.
No, I know, but there was one before that he missed his spot so bad that the guy just watched a hanging slider. It was the batter right
but
before.
thank God Gallo pulled that trigger too fast.
Oh, was it
he was
Vargas?
too excited
He
about
ripped
that.
one to Massey in the second at bat to move the guy over to third.
Yeah.
I think the good thing about that Gallo moment, though, is hitters will always tell you whether they got it or not.
Yeah.
And I think when Gallo hit that, it was dead on at the pole. It wasn't like it started right and then curled fair. I think it was right off the bat. It was that probably is not going to stay fair. If he started walking a little bit toward first, I think my heart would have sunk going, this is either going to hit the pole or it's going to be an inch or two foul. And fortunately, it was more than just a few inches foul.
The sound, though, off the bat, I'm like, that's
crushed
Gallo
it.
getting
The
that.
look. Like
Yeah.
the way that it looked when it left the bat, I was expecting it to be gone just the way the weeks have gone. For
Sterling, what do you think? If that's fair, are the Royals playing next week?
No, it's done.
Yeah,
they're
I
done.
agree.
You
totally
don't
agree.
bounce back from you don't.
I totally
Joey
agree.
Gallo, again, don't get me wrong, he's got a lot of power. He's batting 163. You have your closer on the mound. You got gifted a run. Thank you, Rob Manfred. I've always said you're a great guy.
I love it.
I've never once said Manfred is a horrible commissioner,
I love
and
it.
that I think
I had
he's
to tell everybody the Ghost
horrendous
Runner
for baseball.
Ghost Runner's great. You know, the Royals, they would still be playing right now.
This game would still be going
They would
on.
still be
Yeah.
playing. The Royals, how many innings would it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop?
74.
Exactly.
74.
My son woke up and saw it said final in 10. He goes, they played 10 extra innings? Well,
like it.
they would have had to, son, if it wasn't for Rob Manfred changing the rules. Because I don't think either team was scoring last night
No,
until
I mean, it
something
was
happened. But
a
if
battle
there
of-
was not the Ghost Runner, but you agree that, no, it was over if that's fair ball.
Yeah, that's over. And again, the Royals, I hate saying this, put some good swings on balls last night, even with runners in scoring position. Yuli Gurriel in the first inning
Goodness.
torched a ball. It was just right at the shortstop that was able to pick off Bobby Witt Jr. Like, it was one of those things where the past 10 days, anything that could go wrong
Yeah.
did go
Exactly.
wrong. What's that rule? It's not
Murphy's Law.
Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
Dale Murphy? Was that Dale Murphy?
It was Dale Murphy.
I'm assuming? Yeah.
Yep.
Dale Murphy's Law.
Yep.
And we saw it happening until the 10th when the Royals finally cut a break.
Yeah. And, we've talked a lot of the things that Bobby Witt does, and we know how fast he is. But that's also something that we have discussed before, that his speed and his effort and busting it down the line almost every time. I say almost because maybe there was a time that was a hard hit ball to second where he doesn't need to bust it down the line. There's no anything to the left side of the infield. He is sprinting out of the box like it's a 100-meter final in the Olympics. And because of that, you put pressure on the opposing defense to make the throw. And I don't know what was going through the mind of Nunez to look to third and double clutch and then throw the first. Like, the guy was at second. It's a slow roller. He's advancing to third. You're going to have 2 outs. Just throw to first. Like, I would love to know what was at that moment. Why even take a glance over to third and double clutch? It's Bobby Witt. And then, oh, wait, I've got to fire this thing over there. And it's a lower throw. And it was because it was bang, bang. You got a guy right there, so maybe a little tougher for the first baseman to focus on the scoop, and it gets by him. And they score a run, and that's what it took. And sometimes that's what it takes to break through in baseball. Baseball's such a crazy game. Gurriel smokes that in the first inning, and they get no runs out of it. Bobby Witt rolls over a slow roller to shortstop, and they score a run. The way it was going, I was convinced in the bottom of the 7th when there was Vargas or Young was at third because of the double, the 1-out double, and then Vargas ground ball. Young went to third with 2 outs, and then Nunez popped up. When that hit off his bat, I was convinced that was going to land in no man's land between right field, center field, and second base, and it was going to be. And the Nationals get a 2-out bloop single run, and the Royals are now down 1-0 with 6 outs to go. I really felt that was going to happen. Luckily, it was hit so soft that Massey was there to catch the ball. When that happened, I thought, okay, maybe they will pull this out because that's what's been happening in the 7-game losing streak. That ball was landing in. The Royals would load the bases, not get a big hit, and then the other team would have a 2-out double and then a ground ball with eyes to the right side, and they score a run. Like, that felt like just crushing small little dribblers and Texas leaguers and duck snorts and booty knocks, as Rex says, that just kept driving runs in when the Royals were lacing some balls right at people. They're like, what are you going to do, man? This is just crazy baseball. And hopefully that was what took place last night. I looked at the line this morning because yesterday the Royals were heavy favorites. It was like minus 165 to win. With Lorenzen on the mound against DJ Hers, who is hot and cold. He typically doesn't pitch late in the games, but he's had a couple of games where he's gone 6 innings, 1 earned run. Last outing went 3 innings and gave up 5 or 6. The total tonight is 8. And when I first looked at that, I thought, are they going to play twice? They're going to play 2 games tonight to get to 8? But then I'm like, you know what? Pounding the under has been a very profitable move in the 7-game losing streak for the Royals. You would be you would be up a lot right now. You'd certainly be in the red right now with your money. I'm not sure about tonight because I wouldn't do it tonight, only because this could be one of those to where the floodgates open up and the first inning you get a double, you drive a run home, and everybody goes, "Hey, we got 3 runs in the first inning. Let's go play. Let's go play." And then
We
you take
thought
care
that last night.
Well, but the hit didn't happen though.
Yeah,
I'm
know.
talking about early on. If you see the run up on the board,
Yeah.
that ball does fall through, and you get a couple of runs, and then everybody goes, "All right, let's go. We won last night. We got a 2-game lead. Now we're scoring runs early. Let's go play." Because then I think the Royals could put up some crooked numbers in different innings, and we go, "What in the hell happens when you go 27 innings without scoring a run?"
Yeah, I mean, tonight it feels monumental for a few reasons. I mean, if you go in there and take the first 2, tomorrow you got Michael Walk on the bump on a quick turnaround, especially if you knock around, DJ Hurst tonight, and they have to go to their bullpen, now you're asking that bullpen to be available on a short rest, basically, with the Royals going with their hottest pitcher in the rotation. But more than that,
and the Nationals tomorrow going with who
Corbin.
has been their worst pitcher this year. Oddly enough, he's been awful.
So if you get a good Michael Lorenzen start tonight, and honestly, let's tip our cap to the bullpen. During the losing streak, nobody's cared, but they've been pretty good. I mean, they kind of blew up on that Saturday game, but it was mop-up at that time.
Right, it was Singer already gave up 6, so Hernandez came in and gave up 3.
A 3-run home run.
Who cares, right?
It didn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
But everybody else has pitched well enough, and tonight, if you go out there and win, even if Minnesota wins against Miami, but if they win at that point and you win tonight, you're putting the Twins in a situation where they not only need to win the next day, but then win the series in Baltimore. So tonight could be your, all right, we still have one more game to play in Washington, and you will be favored to sweep that. And if you do that, the Twins would need to go in and sweep Baltimore to surpass Kansas City, and the Royals would probably need to win only one and none, I think, actually in Atlanta.
The perfect scenario is you get into Saturday and Sunday, and the second or third wild card doesn't matter. Because let's say they've got a 3-game lead going into Saturday morning on the Twins. You are now in the playoffs because you've also got the tiebreaker over the Mariners, right?
Yes.
So they're now 3 games up on the Mariners. Or the Mariners out, they're 2.5.
2.5.
They got a doubleheader coming up.
Yeah.
The Mariners
They
do.
play this afternoon.
Yeah, so they've got, I think, 2 against Houston, and Houston's already won the division, so maybe at this point, and Houston's pretty much locked into the 3 seed, so maybe the Mariners start winning a couple of games.
A little champagne hangover as well.
I don't doubt it, especially when they came back in that game last night.
Champagne does give you bad hangovers.
Yes,
I can confirm.
They had lost the night before. They were now up by 4 in the division with 3 more against the Mariners going into last night and trailed most of that game. And then they come back and win, and they clinch the division. Today might be today might be C.J. Abrams showing up to the ballpark a couple of hours after pulling an all-nighter.
I will say
it might be that for the Astros. In fact, I'm going to go play some money on the Mariners.
Me too.
I don't know. I will say there's a great Jason Kendall story about the time when he was struggling, so he was supposed to take a day off. He got blitzed, and all of a sudden there was like a pregame injury to the catcher. And so he actually had to play, and he was like still drunk from the night before, hadn't slept, and he went like 3 for 5. He came out and was like, "Wow, maybe that's what he needed to get out of the slump was just to relax." So either or,
yeah, right.
Maybe throw some on the Mariners, and maybe you double down and throw like some on the Houston Astros just to have like 12+ runs.
Jack, do you think I do have a question about because we are kind of saying like it is funny that it took an error, the rules putting a guy at second. And all the things had to happen for us to just get 1 run. I almost think that's really good with the way the weeks have gone for the Royals because of all the bad luck that they've had. To you and Jason and Sterling's point of it kind of coming off, the lid coming off in the first game here today, that is a good feeling of like, hey, maybe the breaks can go our way again and we can kind of build off of this one here.
Absolutely. I actually texted a buddy some point during the game, and I'm like, all they need is somebody else to make a mistake. They don't need the ball that gets crushed into the gap with the base loaded. That sure as hell be fine, but they just need somebody else to make a mistake to go, oh, things are on our side for the first time. What's baffled me in this losing streak and the scoreless drought, nobody's homered since last Monday.
I mean, right?
Nobody
ran
person,
into one.
And there's been a lot of pitches left middle.
Yes.
That's an indicator of trying too hard.
It is, and that's why I think Matt Quatrero said on Sunday. I know you want me to say they're pressing, but they're not. They're absolutely pressing.
Yes.
They were
you just
nervous. They were.
It's like you want me to say this. But
you want me to say it. I'm not going to say it. It was true. Like you could tell, so many guys up there knew what was going on. They were collapsing, and people going, man, they let a 5-game lead with 15 games to go evaporate or disintegrate, whatever you want to call it. And it was amazing to me in so many spots, not Salvi, not Bobby, and I can't remember many balls getting close. Massey had one on Friday night against the Giants. That's the last time I think I saw a ball get to the warning track for this team.
Yeah, the Giants, but the Tigers in Wednesday or Tuesday.
Renfro's ball that got
Renfro, and then was it Pham in right field?
Yes,
so
Pham
there
was
were
to the warning track.
2 different balls.
Renfro,
that
the
Tigers,
one in the center that was
The Tigers made great plays on those, and you're
They
like,
did.
and to your point, can somebody make a mistake? Can somebody misplay a ball?
Overrun a ball.
one time, right? Like Massey and Isbell last night. Like, why is Massey in center field? Like, you give Chase, but at that point, you're so far out there, you know Isbell's going to be pretty close. All you've done is distract Isbell from wanting to dive and make the play. I get it. He's trying. That's part of, I got to go and make a play. I'm trying. I'm working instead of just, I'm so far out here. My head's in the game. We're playing good baseball. I'm just going to peel off. And Isbell's going to come in. Isbell slides and makes that catch. I'm convinced if he doesn't see Massey and sort of pulls up a little bit, regardless, doesn't matter. They won the game. Now let's see moving forward. But a perfect scenario to me would be, we'll take a break, and I want to hear from Bobby Witt because he said something last night that's now going to be a mantra moving forward. He started with the boys are playing some ball, and now we've got another one. But the scenario that they could be facing, if they wake up Saturday morning and they have a 3-game lead on the Twins, so win the next 2 nights, win tonight, win tomorrow, the Twins lose one of them or both of them, that'd be great. But the scenario that if they wake up Saturday and they have a 3-game lead on the Twins and Saturday and Sunday does not matter because would you rather go to Houston or Baltimore? But here's the point. Houston or Baltimore to me wouldn't matter if you can then not throw Lugo and Reagans on Saturday and Sunday. Because if you get into Saturday and Sunday and you're up by a game on the Twins and they have the tiebreaker, you're throwing Lugo on Saturday, who's scheduled to pitch. And if you win and the Twins win and you still have a 1-game lead and they have the tiebreaker, you're throwing Reagans on Sunday. And who you throwing on Tuesday, which would be Michael Wacha. Then you'd come back Wednesday and Thursday with 3 days rest of Lugo and Reagans if you get there. If you get into Saturday and Sunday, and the only thing that matters is if you have the 2nd or 3rd wild card, to me, that doesn't matter. What matters more is Reagans and Lugo fresh, ready to go on Tuesday and Wednesday, rather than, well, now you get to go to Baltimore instead of Houston. What's it matter if it's Michael Wacha and then short rest for Lugo and Reagans, or guys that may not be able to pitch? Like, no. Let's get the rotation set up, because that's what the other team's going to be doing, is getting the rotation set up, because Baltimore ain't winning the division, and they're going to have the number 1 wild card, and Houston's going to have the number 3 number 3 seed. Those teams this weekend are getting their rotation set up, and they're banking on Tigers, Royals, Twins, or Mariners having to exhaust their guys to get into a matchup with them next weekend. That's how big last night was. It gives them now a 2-game lead, and again, if you can wake up Saturday with a 3-game lead, just one more game over the next couple of nights. 3 games. If you can take 1 extra game against the Twins over the next 3 nights, you don't have to throw Lugo or Reagans. And you get all we've talked about the entire season is you get into a 3-game set with Reagans, Lugo, Wacha. Feel pretty good. That would be the case. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. All right, so the biggest news across sports today, obviously the local news being the Royals winning last night. Kareem Hunt activated yesterday about 10 minutes after Fact or Fiction when I said fact that Kareem Hunt would be activated. Sterling said it was fiction.
It was like an hour after.
It was 5 minutes.
It was right after we did Fact or Fiction. And I was
2:03.
I was wrong.
So we get to flip that one from Todd to me, and now I've won. That's great. Because then we wouldn't have needed the tiebreaker then, Sterling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Kareem Hunt activated. Keontae Ingram waived. So we'll see if he gets any reps this weekend. Obviously, Andy Reid will be asked about that coming up an hour from now when he's at the podium. But this story out of Vegas, and this thing is unbelievable. Matthew Sluka, the starting quarterback for UNLV, the Rebels, the Fighting Barry Odoms, who are undefeated, and, the favorites currently through 4 weeks, 3 games for them, to be the Group of 5 automatic qualifier to the college football playoff. They are the favorites to do that. Matthew Sluka transferred from Holy Cross to take over as the starting quarterback at UNLV because UNLV's starting quarterback transferred to USC and is now the backup at USC. So he's watching USC football games instead of playing for UNLV. But, whatever. Choose whatever you want to do. Matthew Sluka chose UNLV. He was the finalist for the FCS Heisman Trophy back-to-back years and was a coveted quarterback. UNLV got him. Great runner, decent passer, whatever. He's leading UNLV in passing yards and rushing yards. And he had himself a decent game. Certainly he was the better quarterback on the field against KU that game. And that was unfortunate because that was a very winnable game, and we could very easily be talking about an undefeated KU. But we're not. We're talking about a KU team that's 1-3. So he tweets out last night, 11:36 p.m. This was from Matthew Sluka. Quote, I have decided to utilize my redshirt year and will not be playing in any additional games this season. I committed to UNLV based on certain representations that were made to me, which were not upheld after I enrolled. Despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season and hope for the continued success of the program.
Straight cash, homie.
Now, that has been met with a tweet from Carl Reed Jr., longtime coach in the St. Louis area, close connection with Barry Odom. So Carl Reed, I would say, would know, would have an idea, or at least have a direct line to somebody that would know. He tweets out, quote, all financial commitments for UNLV QB Matthew Sluka were completely met. But after wins against KU and Houston, Sluka's family, reverse that, Houston and then KU, Sluka's family hired an agent, and they collectively feel that his market value has increased per source. I don't know who the source is. I'm going to guess it's somebody that's very familiar with the situation. So I think it's Ari Bodum would be the source for Carl Reed Jr. This is where it gets into the weeds because, well, the financial commitments were met. Okay. I committed to UNLV based on certain representations that were made to me which were not upheld after I enrolled. Despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. So this, to me, is where it gets into this was one of the 1,000 layers to this story, is there's some wiggle room and some things left open to interpretation by some vague wording, despite discussions. Is that what Carl Reed Jr. was saying? Is that they're now discussing they want a pay increase? Mike Gundy, you're not getting a pay increase. Stop asking. You already negotiated. We paid you. We're moving forward. We're playing football. But also he said it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. So he's saying these were commitments. Discussions happening. Commitments were made, but not commitments that have already been paid. Commitments in the future would not be fulfilled. Is there an escalator? Is there if you're in the top 25, you get another 100,000 for every week you're in the top 25?
Yeah, if you beat a powerhouse like Kansas.
Right. You beat Kansas, you hold out. I mean, that's what it is.
Look at how far we've come, Kansas fans.
Seriously, West Virginia, Neil Brown should now be telling, I want a new contract. I just beat Kansas. Are you kidding me? Matthew Sluka is holding out for more money in season. He's Chris Jonesing this thing. All right, he wants more money. He's skipping games to redshirt. There's some vague details, or lack of details, vague phrasing that leaves it open to interpretation for a lot of people. And I don't know if that is the previous commitments that he was supposed to be paid, or it's something in the future, or he's negotiating, as Carl Reed Jr. said. Let me just say this real quick, and then I'll get your guys' thoughts on this. I've seen a lot of tweets and reaction of, welcome to 2024 college football. And I understand that. I understand why those tweets would be that. But to me, that this story is not welcome to the sport as we know it now. It's welcome to this player's decision. To me, this is not an epidemic where you're going to see this is the first one to happen. Will there be more? Certainly. There will be more. All right? But to act like, this college football now, all these players are going to start doing that, who's got the leverage? Who's got the power to do that? Who's got the stones to do that? Who's unhappy with their money coming in? Who is willing to turn their back on their teammates in the middle of the season when everybody has been busting their ass for that? Guys that have been there way longer at UNLV than this dude. This dude's been on campus for 5 minutes.
You think the offensive lineman who's a senior who's getting paid nothing is thrilled by this
right.
decision?
The player that would have to have all of those things come together, to me, is going to be incredibly rare. Yes, we are talking about NIL. Yes, players will want money and maybe more money as the days and games go along. But to me, this is Pandora's box. It's a can of worms, slippery slope. We're going to see so many other players now that are going to be doing this. I just don't think that's the case. I think this is Matthew Sluka, who made a decision. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, so I'm going to hold judgment. If they made a commitment to him and they did not uphold that, then that's on them. And anybody that's at their work, if you're supposed to get paid a certain amount and you're not getting paid, you're pretty pissed off about it. You're not doing the work the way that you hoped or the way that your employer wants you to, or you would be doing if you were paid to a representative level of what you were promised. But this dude's making a decision independent of what any other player in the country will make. And we'll see how he's treated, Sterling, because if he goes somewhere else or he's not wanted by anybody else, good luck to the next player that does this.
Well, and that's I'm wondering, what other organization what other college is like, you know what? We want that guy on our team.
Yep.
We want that guy to be our leader and starting quarterback.
This is the leader of our team right here.
And don't get me wrong, he did a great job against Kansas. I mean, he was the reason they won that game with his legs. That ain't where does he think he's going? Mm-hmm. UNLV is probably the best school he's going to play for.
That's why he went to UNLV. He was at Holy Cross. He was a 2-time finalist for the FCS Heisman Trophy.
C.J. Hansen.
I don't remember what it's called.
C.J. Hansen. Come on, baby. Isn't it Holy Cross? Wasn't that C.J. Hansen?
Yes.
Yeah, come on, baby. Yeah. But we get C.J. Hansen on the phone right now. We got to see what was Matthew Sluka like.
Let's talk to him.
But what's his leverage? Yeah. Because if you don't do this, I think he's done. At least as a starter for a legitimate.
No,
group of 5 school.
I don't think you're raising in stature with a school if you do this in the middle of the season.
You have 318 yards passing in 3 games.
Nobody's rallying behind you.
It is a weird situation because now in the landscape of college sports,
yep.
I'm getting choked up about it. I feel so bad for Matthew Sluka.
I was filling in the gap there where you were
yes.
coughing.
Yes.
You did a great job, Jason.
Yeah, it was fantastic. No dead air there.
Proceed. Continue.
It is a situation now where it is a little bit unpredictable with college athletes, right? There can be situations like this where you feel like things are all going smoothly. You're winning football games. A guy like this is playing, for the most part, well enough to win you games against Power 5 schools, but this can always be a hang-up, and who knows really the length of all it. I believe it was Pete Thamel had said that there wasn't a written agreement or something like that. You're just talking about verbal agreements at that point, so that's where it gets a little bit tough and hazy, but it's weird now. You're looking at UNLV and a quarterback that came from Holy Cross and is haggling about money a little bit. You can't tell me that point. This could happen anywhere now that you think about it.
Well, and I think the bigger the school, the more the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted for the NILs. True.
Sure.
I don't think Georgia is going through an issue to where a player's going, oh, you didn't meet your financial commitments to me, so I'm going to leave. Because I think those big NILs, when there's 7 figures on the line, I think those contracts are pretty straightforward and set in what you're going to get and the fulfillment of it, and they have the money to do that, even if it's like, oh, he's not playing well. Well, this is what we promised that particular player. I think the bigger the school, UNLV, maybe it's more of a verbal, here's what we're going to do to take care of you.
Yeah, what's the money even look like
Yeah.
from which also makes me wonder, why doesn't, if it's just a couple thousand more, if you're UNLV, you might as well just say, hey, let's just go ahead and just get this done.
But also, was it a verbal as in, as the season goes on, if we're ranked in the top 25 and I'm playing well, is there an area and an avenue to increase the NIL? And if Barry Odom said, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're busting your butt. You're playing that. People, you're leading. We're winning games. We're undefeated. We're heading towards the playoff. Hell yeah. We'll take care of you. And then he goes, hey, we're 3-0. We're top 25. Yeah, man, you're paid what you're paid. Sorry. Whoa, 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 whoa. No. That's not what we talked about. So that's certainly a hypothetical scenario that could be happening behind the scenes. I got a lot more thoughts on this because I think there are university implications here. I think this is a bigger college football university conference connection issue there. And the NCAA is a big reason why this is going on right now. So people want to act like, oh, the NCAA tried to tell you. NCAA told you it was going to happen. No, the NCAA spent 8 figures fighting this for years. Imagine if they took that time and money and got together with the players, coaches, schools, conferences to figure out the best plan so that everybody benefits and these things have guardrails. But instead of they fought, they lost, and it opened up.
Yeah, but then they would never get to keep all the kids' money and not pay the kids.
Right. And now they ain't getting a damn dime from it because the kids are getting everything because they lacked foresight. They just wanted to scream and yell and say, no, 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 no. And they didn't think, they were a child. They didn't think of the consequences that, hey, you know what? Now you're grounded tomorrow. Okay, now you're grounded the day after that. They're just screaming, no, no, no. All right, well, sorry. You're eventually going to calm down and you're going to realize the error in your ways. And the NCAA right now is going, told you so. And everybody else should be going, yes, we told you so. We said this would happen if you didn't get in line and work with everything. Come together and figure out the best possible solution. Instead, you just played obstructionist. And now Pandora's box is open and you're fighting to try to pull in some guardrails.
Well,
it is much more difficult to draw it back than it is to open it up.
in fairness, the NCAA motto is bleep them kids.
Less than an hour from now, we'll hear from the Chiefs. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. We'll see which player will be at the podium with those guys. But coming up on the other side, we'll talk with Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. Get her thoughts on this Chiefs team. They are 3-0. 3-0.
Not 1, not 2, 3.
Yeah. Losses. Not 1, not 2.
As the Bengals,
Bengals
come
wins.
on.
Bengals wins. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. Cynthia Freeland next.
2 years.
She's analyzed the data.
If you can keep that big booty down, like if you are a big boy, if you're very tall and you can keep your booty down low, then you are far more successful.
She's crunched the numbers, and the results are clear.
The back of booty isn't as good, as it turns out.
If she picks a dog, she'll have the math to back it up.
It's not like Travis Kelce is done. My dog is very excited about this, just so you know.
It's Cynthia Freeland of NFL Network. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. We'll hear from the Chiefs coming up later on this hour, about 40 minutes from now. And it'll be Andy Reid. It'll be Patrick Mahomes. We'll find out who is at the podium today. 913-912-4810. We talked a lot of Royals baseball in the first hour. Also the UNLV quarterback, that conversation. Let's talk some NFL football. Joining us now, as you heard, NFL Network's analytics expert, Cynthia Freeland, joining us on this Wednesday. Cynthia, welcome into the show. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I am doing just fine. Before we talk about the Chiefs and the win against the Falcons and some takeaways from that game and then some other things I want to talk to you about with offenses versus defenses that we're seeing, we talked with our Chiefs insider yesterday, and we actually started our conversation with him about what we're seeing from the Bengals and starting off 0-3 versus what we're seeing from the Bills that look just downright dominant right now, which I am perfectly fine. If teams have the Bills as the number one team in their power rankings, yeah, makes sense. They look like the number one team right now in the NFL. But as you're looking at, let's say the Bengals specifically, what are you seeing from them as to offensively they couldn't score points in week one? Week two, they score points, but a bad turnover and a scoop and score for the Chiefs. Defensively, they played really well. And then against the Commanders, they scored tons of points, but their defense couldn't stop the Commanders even once. So it's sort of like different things in different weeks. What are you seeing from this Bengals team? Why are they 0-3, and will they be able to turn this thing around and find themselves playing in later January rather than just January week 18?
Well, let's start with that last question first, and I think they'll turn around this week. It's a plus matchup for them against the Carolina Panthers, who I know looks electric against the Raiders. However, I believe that business decision information from Antonio Pierce. So, anyways, I think it'll look better for them this week. I don't think they're going to be one of the 3 winless teams or whatever any longer. But what I'm seeing here is a couple of things. The first is their inability to stop the run has really been kind of the catalyst for a lot of problems. I mean, you saw Sheldon Rankins went down against the Chiefs, actually, and that changed some things, too, because they're already so thin at that position with DJ Reader in Detroit now. And then Chris Jenkins played against Washington, but, you know, he's still a rookie. It was his first time out there. He didn't participate in any of the preseason activities. So they just need a little bit, you know, they're not a spendy team. They have been very disciplined with their cap. They paid their quarterback, and now everyone else is kind of hoping that it all works out. It kind of seems like, and even Trey Hendrickson, who had some inexplicable being off the field moments last game. There's something going on with the defense, but it starts with the run. That is kind of, to me, the big problem. And we've seen this from Joe Burrow in the offense before, where it takes him a couple of games to get back going because an injury here or there, or you know, a hold in or hold in, whatever he's calling
right.
it, that Jamar Chase did, and then T. Higgins getting injured. So there's just a lot of change at unfortunate times. But again, when you can't stop the run, you've got a really big problem, especially the run. It's one thing to like bend, don't break, but like it's like run and end zone and run. And you even saw Jaden Daniels complete with some crazy deep passes this past week. So it overwhelms them.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see what's going to happen because, you know, they're one of the teams that, you know, certainly we had in the mix of teams to beat. And the Bills, there was a huge question around them, Cynthia, of what they would look like this year with making what seemed like, you know, the Chiefs' decision a couple of years ago that, hey, you know, we're in a little bit of a cap issue right now. We're paying the quarterback a lot of money. We are now swimming in different waters, all right, than we were with a rookie contract quarterback and Josh Allen. So we've got to make some decisions, and that means moving on from some defensive players. It means moving on from Diggs. It means moving on from Gabe Davis. You know, we've We got to do some different things and have some other guys step up. And there were a lot of doubters with the Chiefs a couple of years ago, and they went on to win the Super Bowl when they traded away Tyreek Hill. And, they turned those draft picks into pretty good players. And that money they saved, they were able to use on Chris Jones. And the Bills, it's not apples and apples. It's not a direct comparison where there's just a symmetrical, overlay of these two different, teams making decisions. But it is similar in nature. And the Bills have not only answered the bell, they've came out and tried to prove a lot of people wrong that they look like absolute dominant team. Is this something that the Bills can continue, or is there an element of the Dolphins aren't necessarily all that good, even though they were up 31-10 with Tua in the game? The Cardinals are 1-2 on the season, and after having a 17-3 deficit, they just boat raced them. And the Jags look to be in shambles. Is it opponent induced? Is there a combination here of the Bills, to me, being a deserving number one power ranking team if somebody has them there?
I mean, I feel like what I'm willing to say is that Josh Allen has firmly placed himself in that capital E elite category.
Agreed.
I think that's the one area I'm willing to go to in 3 games, and especially, I mean, the toll of the past 2 games, like for the other teams emotionally, just felt awful, like terrible. So when I'm looking at it, I want to know what happens when things aren't in their control. Like the run game works for them. We know Joe Brady's going to call it. We know they've been really effective with it. Josh Allen's only been sacked 2 times, right? The O-line's great. But what happens when they're playing from behind? I understand that happened with the Arizona game, but it's a little bit different because that's not an elite defense. And I'm looking at this opportunity saying, okay, what happens when you're really putting Josh Allen in a situation where he either has to take the team on his shoulders, make a throw that might not be such a great advised throw because, he doesn't have the elite pass catchers, at least at the wide receiver position, that he's had in the past. Like, I want to know what happens when things aren't so good. Like, the rose-colored lenses are great. We know when they're in control, when they have possession, when they can run the football effectively, it's great. But what happens, like I think about the Saints last week, what happens when you take away the run? What happens when you take away the foundation of what everything else is built off of? What are your other options? And we haven't seen that yet. So while I'm willing to say Josh Allen is like erasing a lot of, let's just go with injuries alone. Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, Teron Johnson, all not playing. The spine of the defense is completely different. But if you have ball control and you're running football effectively, not as big of a deal because teams are going to be throwing, right? So you're telegraphing that it's a pass play. So what happens when the game script gets split? How are they going to be able to get out of trouble when the inevitable NFL comes and gets you? Poof, it's, you're gonna find yourself on the wrong end of that spectrum at some point, especially when we talk about January football. And that's where I don't know what I'm looking at yet. I have no data to point me to that.
Yeah. Look, the one thing I've joked about the last couple of days is, with these 3 teams specifically, with the Chiefs, the Bengals, and the Bills, they're all 3 living up to their recent personalities at the beginning of the season. That the Chiefs find ways to win. The Bengals start out without, winning a game. And the Bills dominate teams and look like they are just world beaters, and then they eventually slow down. And then at the end of the season, they try to find what happened at the beginning of the year. It's like, I feel like this goes back to the Reagan administration with these 3 teams doing that. I don't know. But certainly over the last 3-4 years, it has been the same script with the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals. It's just odd that, it's still continuing to that script. Of course, it's the NFL script, so that makes sense too.
That's right. Somebody wrote it somewhere. It's actually me. I wrote it. That's my new job. See? I'm the script writer.
I knew it.
So if you want anything done, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do.
Hey, keep going with the Chiefs are winning only because of the refs. I appreciate that. Keep writing that script. It's great. Because you're doing a great job, and I appreciate you doing that. Cynthia Freeland is our guest, NFL Network analytics expert, NFL script writer, joining us here in the zone. Let's look at the Chiefs' win over Atlanta. They refuse to play games in which they will win by more than a score, even though Patrick Mahomes said that we're going to try not to do that. Sure, they've won 9 games in a row. 8 of those have been by 1 score. What do you take away from the win against the Falcons and winning 22-17?
I think Rashee Rice is a real legitimate like he's taken a massive, massive step forward. And you saw the impact of that, like his ability to find some open space, to change the way that defenses have to configure themselves. Like he is a real force, and I know that Chiefs fans are like, well, duh, but I think, every single fan of every single team now is understanding about just how you have to respect this guy and put some respect on his name, right? So he's not like an emerging player. He's arrived. He has totally arrived. That's the first thing I took away. The second is basically we see Kirk Cousins becoming increasingly mobile. He looked like a statue in week 1, a little bit more in week 2, motion, a little bit, and even a little bit more this past week, starting to look like the guy that we were all like, oh, this is going to be a Falcons team that wins the division, easy peasy. But I still don't think that, the Chiefs had answers to the test that was the Falcons. And even though the score looked a little closer, and obviously it came down to that last drive being a little bit gut-wrenching, but the defense, they had the answers. The linebackers had the answers, and they were able to keep making decisions and finding the right plays at the right time, which in many ways, that's like solving the puzzle of the NFL season. You don't have to be the number one power. Who cares about who the number one ranked power ranking, whatever the heck that's called, in week 3 is or week 4 is, right? What you need to be is a team that finds answers and keeps adapting and shifting and moving, given the cadence of the season where you change an alignment or someone gets hurt or you don't have your normal running back, et cetera. So they found great answers to the questions that they had.
Yeah, and look, they've won games, and I've talked about that. They haven't played well, and they should feel fortunate to be 3-0, but it's also something that they've been able to do is find ways to win. So I think you can be of two minds. I think both things can be true, that the Chiefs find ways to win, but also it's fortunate that close games coming down to the last play, a 4th down stop, a toe that was out of the end zone, a toe that connects with a football to kick a field goal through the uprights, a win or lose game. Winning 3 of those games in 3 weeks in a row, I'm not sure what the numbers are, but I would guess it's below 50%. To do that.
I mean, it's like a baby, though. Every game is its own percentage.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like, just because you already have 3 girls doesn't mean you're getting a boy next time. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know. We don't like I said last week. We don't have enough. It's just law of large numbers. We don't have big enough. We don't play enough games in a season for that to be the case on an individual team basis. If you look at the culmination of 272 regular season games, sure, then you'll see that. But we just don't have enough. There's not enough. It's just like the population, right? There'll be closer to 50% if you look at large numbers as opposed to one-offs where one family has 5 boys or whatever.
Yeah. Cynthia Freeland is our guest. What are you seeing from Patrick Mahomes, if anything? I mean, it's just there have been some film work that's been done by, local media members and looking at Patrick Mahomes, and he had some really head-scratching throws in that game, and not just the decision to throw it and Justin Simmons intercept it, but, I mean, the first throw of the game was sort of just relying on arm, and he underthrows Rashee Rice, and, boy, Cynthia, the all-22, that's a throw you'd really like to have back, because either he hits Rashee Rice and there's 2 guys ahead of Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy there too, or he hits Xavier Worthy running up the sideline, and Worthy might have still been running now if he hits either one of those guys. The play design was just brilliant. And I would guess Andy Reid might have thrown up in his mouth a little bit when that ball was so underthrown like that, when you're like, wow, we've been working on that play. It's scripted, and it was there, and we might have scored a touchdown the first play of the game, and he underthrows it. He underthrew Rashee Rice a little bit later on with an odd throw. He was starting to, step up in the pocket, and he looked like he was almost running. Then he looked to his left and just flung it to Juju Smith-Schuster and missed him by like 2 yards. It was odd. Second half looked better. Looked like, all right, now he's stepping into throws, throwing some bullets, but it kind of feels like, Cynthia, this is just one of those things that you live with Mahomes, that from time to time, his feet and platform just get out of whack, and then he goes and fixes, and he turns out, and he looks like an MVP again.
It's funny because I think if you went to any other fan base, almost any other fan base, and you were like, hey, look at this, they'd be like, I'll live with it. I will live with that. No problem.
Right.
It's kind of like Tiger Woods, right? Like he adjusts his 3-iron or whatever, or his fairway wood, and then, his 7-iron's different. And, I think that honing their craft and figuring out the speeds for different receivers and different configurations. Like, I don't, as long as you're fixing it, not like, if you're making the same mistake over and over again, then it's a problem. If you're making a mistake and then you're changing it and adapting it and fixing your swing, to go back to my golf analogy, then I think that it's fine, especially if you're a guy with the level of experience, the caliber of play, you know the talent is there. It's not like he's broken, right? Like, every year you have to figure it out. Every runner runs at different speeds. I understand they all kind of aggregate around the same thing, but you know, a post or a slant is a different speed, and a post or a slant against Justin Simmons is a different speed. So figuring out those little tinkering abilities and this a little more here, a little bit less here, you know, that's how he figures out the recipe to win every single game, right? Like that's what they figured out. And, you know, they've gotten lucky that it has worked out every single time. But at the same point, it's like, when you're possibly the best to ever do it, that is something you've got to let him have that, right?
Yeah.
Or go to Detroit and ask people how they feel. Would they rather want that problem or other problems? Like, everyone loves Jared Goff. Don't get me wrong, but no one thinks they're the same ilk.
Yeah, you can be very, very, very happily married, but then work on some small part of your marriage that you're like, you know what, if we can just work on this over here, everything else is great, but we'll just iron this thing out, you know. But still, it's like, I don't want somebody else. I am so happily married, but we'll just, like, this little area. That's all. And yes, there are probably other people that are like, I'd love to trade my marriage for yours. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that he gets sometimes, and I think most people, Cynthia, by even like looking at the film and some of the throws, are like, hey, let me preface this. I want Patrick Mahomes over anybody else. He's amazing. But just these things happen from time to time. He sort of gets out of whack. His leg is like way to his left, but he's throwing over the middle. Like, it's just odd. Like, his foot is pointing towards the sideline, and yet he throws the ball right over the middle inaccurately. It's like, and then the two longest plays.
Whatever.
Yeah, and then the two longest plays of the game, Cynthia, for the Chiefs, the biggest gains, were the same play, an over route, one to Kelsey, one to Rashee Rice, and he steps up in the pocket on platform, steps into throw, and he hits it between the 8 and the 7 and hits it right in the number 4. And it's like, 20 yards downfield. Like, all right, well, see, he still does that, right? So it's fine, What do you, what's Cynthia Flynn is our guest, NFL Network analytics expert. I want to give a shout out. Price Carter for Arrowhead Addict tweeted this out this morning, I think it was. Yeah, about an hour ago. And he was looking at the separation numbers for NFL receivers and where the Chiefs are, and pointed out that league average separation is 2.96 yards, where Sunday against the Falcons, Xavier Worthy was at 4.6, Rashee Rice was 4.4, Justin Watson 4.4, Juju was 3.3, Kelsey was 3.2. How do you, sort of calculate or look at that? Because there was a lot of zone coverage against the Chiefs by the Falcons, and Rashee Rice running some of those Kelsey routes of finding the space in the zone, sitting down, getting the ball, running quick little, slant routes and getting the ball, on those separation plays. Is it skewed by having a quick little throw down the line of scrimmage or a quick little turnaround to Rashee Rice or a team that plays a lot of zone? Or is there something more connective with, hey, you know what, these Chiefs receivers are getting separation. It's just that, Mahomes had an off night and those things happen.
I mean, there's a little bit. So here's the other thing that's interesting. Like, even Aaron Rodgers in week 3, he didn't attempt one single pass of over 20-plus air yards. So you're going to have a different, like, each route has a different average separation for a receiver. So if you're running deeper routes, you're going to actually have more separation on average. It's not necessarily the case, right? If it's man coverage and you're blanket about whatever. But on average, you're going to have more separation running deeper plays. More quarterbacks this season are throwing at or behind the line of scrimmage or those shorter plays. So it's a little misleading to say that, it's not wrong, right? But and the whole point is, they're giving him zone, and he didn't find them necessarily in those coverages. But you have to dig into more similar things that are like each other to really get into that. So, you'd have to break it down into like 10 plus, even just 10 plus air yards, so downfield throws, and see where they rank. And I would imagine it also has something to do with the structure of the defense, because the Falcons secondary, it's weird to say this because I usually don't talk about the Falcons and be like, wow, they have good secondary, but they do have good secondary this season. And, they play with a different structure than we've seen from some of the other, like the Bengals don't play like the Falcons do, at all. And then the Ravens have just been giving up all of the yak to everyone. So some of those numbers can get a little bit skewed by averages, but, because freaking the Cowboys had all the separation in the world, especially in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just tricky. I think, when you're going through and you're able to go like such fine detail to talk about the separation, I would say that, yeah, they probably did have more space, but then let's talk about you made a change at the O-line and you're also changing your running back. So maybe even though they had more separation, they weren't necessarily in a ideal situation for where they could really catch the ball. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an interesting way that you put that, because right as you started talking about, well, if you're running deeper routes, then, in theory, you should have more separation than somebody that's running a shorter route and the cornerback is there and cutting with you, because the what stands out there is, wow, the league average is 2.96 and Xavier Worthy led the Chiefs with almost a 4.6 yards of separation there, and you're like, okay, well, why isn't he getting the ball more? But if you're saying, well, yeah, if he's running deeper routes, and also if he's running deeper routes and he's sometimes a decoy, then it doesn't matter if he's got those yards of separation. Right. So maybe there's a little bit more in the details than just saying, well, Xavier Worthy had 1.6 yards of separation above what league average was in the game, and yet he got 2 targets? Like, what? And they were sort of gimmick targets? What are we doing here?
I would say maybe even if you just narrowed it down a little bit more and said, like, on plays where they're targeted, the separation was X, then it would give you a better idea. Because, remember, like a lot of people this season have started playing more compressed formations. So not only is the O-line more compressed, but they just put more bodies closer to the line of scrimmage because they're trying to optimize for their quarterback not having to throw deep. See Washington, they just putting a ton of traffic in the middle typically. But ultimately, that's, if you were to say, like, okay, on plays where they were targeted, Xavier Worthy had blank yards. That would be at least like, interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's so, listen. Again, this goes back to, you're so lucky that these are high class problems. This is a champagne problem, Like
the caviar isn't the level of caviar that we expected.
Yeah, exactly. Like
this is an off-brand caviar. It's ridiculous. Cynthia, this is not the color of Ford Mustang I asked for, Dad. Okay, and you bought this for me, but I wanted to, you know what? You don't love me. You don't love me, and this is why I'm running away, because this is the wrong color of Beamer that I asked for. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. True story. That happened in high school, but whatever. Not to me, but somebody that we knew. So,
That's incredible.
Some people live different lives. I don't know.
I would drive like a mustard yellow. Like if you give me anything that like looks like a school bus, I don't care. It's free. I'll have 3. Let's go.
It was an interesting time. But yes, it was an interesting parking lot at the high school I went to. You had some beat up cars. You had us riding the bus as juniors and seniors from where we lived. Then you had some people riding in some brand new Beamers and like, oh, okay, it's a nice little melting pot. Cynthia Freeland is our guest. All right, so I found out that I talked about this to start the show, Cynthia. That tight end U that Travis Kelce runs. And he's been running a number of years. They did this with defensive coordinators a couple of years ago, Cynthia, and apparently they got together and came up with this unbeatable defense called like the cover 2 or something that has now just stymied offensive coordinators, and they have no clue what to do. In all seriousness, the offensive numbers being down, Mel Kiper would like them to eliminate the cover 2 defense or 2 deep safeties, but is this simply all because of that? Why, in your estimation and things you're seeing, are the offensive numbers down? And is it just, hey, they're keeping at least 2 safeties deep on every play?
To me, there's 2 things that are happening at the same time. The first is Gordy is being loud. The first
That's the first one. Gordy is mad about it.
Gordy has a lot to say about this.
Okay.
But the first is that we're finally seeing a tipping point of college players now being NFL players. So you have to remember, in college, they're just running more like spreads, like they're running more often. It's just a different style of play, and that's how the whole thing evolved. There may be a true like pocket passer in the college game right now. It's hard to find, right? But ultimately, there's that Plus, there's a pendulum that swings back and forth with defensive talent and defensive structures. And I think we're in a space right now where we're seeing the swing back to the defense as having a bit of an advantage. I mean, for a while, like last year you saw it on offense. For how many years was it like outside zone runs? That's the way to go. Like, that's the only thing that works. And then last year, we only run duo to the inside, so inside runs work again. And then now this year it's like, well, when the Saints, they can only run outside, and when you stop them from doing that, nothing else works. So the point is, defenses now are starting to come up with solutions, and that pendulum will always swing back and forth. We'll see another quote-unquote offensive explosion, just like it's back and forth. Last time we had, I think in week 1, we had 6,026 net passing yards, which was the lowest since 2000. But just so you know, 5 years ago, it was 6,100. So it's not like it's steadily declining. It's pendulum, it's talent, it's who's coming out of college, and it's where they land and under what tutelage.
Yeah, and I think we've seen as well, I went and looked at some of the numbers of 15-plus sack players, 15% pressure win rate, and the numbers have just ballooned in the last 5 or 6 years of the amount of players that are in the NFL that do that, and also the amount of NFL offensive linemen whose pass blocking grades have diminished, and the amount of holding penalties and things like that. So you're right. It's a really good point. Yeah. And there's a lot of things.
Offensive linemen in college, I mean, if you have a Joe Alt, you bow at the altar of Alt, because that's very rare. Plus he's super young. So, but it's very hard. They have a hard time transitioning. I mean, Amarius Mims will tell you, or I guess maybe he won't tell you, but he'll show you on the film. And he was highly regarded. So, it's a very tricky thing figuring out how to navigate offensive linemen's transition into the NFL. Whoever can figure that out, that's the person who's really worth paying a lot of money to. Because even, we talk about Callahan, right, in Tennessee being very good at it, and, this father-son duo. But it hasn't worked yet. Their O-line doesn't look great yet.
Mm-hmm. It would be a bow at the Joe Alt.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's what you would do. Last one for you, Cynthia. What do you think of this matchup? Chargers and Chiefs. It looks like you and I may need to suit up for the Chargers this weekend because they're that banged up. But what do you think of this matchup?
Well, there's only really one metric you need to know, and that's that I'll be there. And
there it is, undefeated.
I'm undefeated. So I'm willing to put my record on the line for this matchup. I am actually looking for a bigger Travis Kelce day. 35 yards, not quite what I'm used to, but I think this is the team in the moment where he shows up for Chargers games like none other. So I'm curious to see kind of the usage. It's less even about, to me, the actual stats for him at the end. It's more about I want to in person watch to see the route, what's going on. Because I think it'll give me an even better idea of what I'm looking at or maybe not looking at this season, or if it's just something where they're trying to let's roll him out slowly, actually do that, so we don't have that weird period of the season where he doesn't play week 18 because he's so banged up, right? So are they strategic? I just want to see it with my own 2 eyes.
I will say this: watching the All-22, it's clear that obviously defenses are trying to take Kelce away. But I think it's also clear that Patrick Mahomes has not moved on from Kelce, but he is perfectly fine with throwing the ball to Rashee Rice, who's running some Kelce routes, to the detriment of a couple of plays where, oh, my God, Kelce was wide open, and Mahomes never looked his way, and that would have been a bigger gainer than what they ended up getting. Something I didn't think I'd be saying, certainly this year, with that this early in the season. So we'll see what happens. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network analytics expert. Cynthia, great stuff as always. Really appreciate the time. Enjoy the football. We'll be watching and paying attention and everything of the coverage for you at NFL Network, and we will talk next Wednesday.
Sounds great. And, I wish you guys were all coming. So if you're there, come say hi to me. Any of your listeners, I'd love to say hi to any of you.
Okay, where are you going to be, just so people can be weird about it?
I don't know. SoFi is the most complicated stadium on the planet, and I've been there a lot of times, and I still, I'll be on the main concourse where the main stuff is.
Okay, there you go. If you're going to the game this weekend, look for the main concourse and the main stuff.
It is truly the most complicated stadium in all of the NFL. So long story short is if you see me, please come give me a big hug because I'll be happy to have one.
Yeah, but announce yourself before you give a big hug because that could be
Yes,
off-putting
please,
for Cynthia.
Don't
as well.
tackle me. Don't tackle me.
That's exactly right. Don't be, is it Terry Crews or Terry Tate, the office linebacker that was back in the day? Yeah, don't do that. Cynthia, thank you so much as always. Enjoy the game this weekend and keep that undefeated streak alive. We'll talk next Wednesday.
Let's go. Talk to you next Wednesday.
Absolutely. There's Cynthia Freeland. She is undefeated when she attends Chiefs games. That is a true, actual stat, and you can create any algorithm you want. That's the only one you need for this weekend for the Chiefs.
Name tag. She should rock a name tag.
Just so people know. Yeah. You know what it should be? It's like the Amazon Prime, the Prime Vision on Thursday night with the All-22, which is a fantastic way to watch a game. Absolutely love, love, love it. So Amazon Prime Thursday night games, maybe people like them, they don't like them. I don't care. It's the Prime Vision is great, but they have different wide receivers and tight ends that are on the field, and it's a lot like a video game where it has the little name above them as they're moving. You should be able to create that to where she just walks with, there's like this AI-generated
halo,
name, Halo,
almost,
that just
yeah.
walks
Yeah.
as she's walking. It just stays above her like a video game. You should be able to do that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will continue rolling. We'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Kareem Hunt will be at the podium today. More Zone next. Kind of a quick segment here because we're going to catch up, and we'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Kareem Hunt. We will also talk with Braden Gall in the noon hour, about 12:30 or so, as this Matthew Sluka story has taken the attention across the country of the college football world, the sports world, the contract world, the breach of contract world, the broken promises world.
Barry Odom's world.
That's right. It's Barry's world, It's Bobby's world. A lot of worlds out there that people are discussing and talking about right now, and we'll do that with Braden Gall. It's Braden's world coming up about 12:30 from Athlon, ESPN Radio, owner of the 440 Sports Podcast Network. Braden Gall covers college football. We'll talk with him. But let's break. Quick segment here, obviously, but on the other side, we'll hear from Andy Reid, we'll hear from Patrick Mahomes, and we will hear from Kareem Hunt coming up next. We'll hear from Kareem Hunt coming up in just a little bit when we head out to the practice facility. Do want to let you know that the head coach press conference presented by Greengrass Cattle Company, you can buy their 21-day dry-aged grass-fed grain-finished farm-to-table beef from their Weston store or online at greengrasscattleco.com. And also brought to you by Robert Brogdon's Olathe Buick GMC, offers unbeatable deals and a massive inventory of over 300 new Buick and GMC vehicles. Shop now at robertbrogdon.com. We'll hear from Andy Reid, and we'll find out if Kareem Hunt will be playing at all this weekend. He has been elevated from the practice squad. Keontae Ingram has been waived, released, whatever you want to call it, DFA'd. I think he's been designated for assignment. So the Royals have...
is he in the IL? Is that what it is?
IL or IR? DL. He's on the DL.
The DL.
Yep.
15-day?
Disabled list. A 15-day disabled list for Keontae Ingram. And he may not be on the playoff roster because of that.
Oh.
That's right. But he is on a two-way contract with the Chiefs and their G League team.
Oh, okay.
In Raytown.
Two-way. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. So
I will say,
it.
Keontae Ingram didn't play. I mean,
you said it. I mean,
Steele
he did not play.
Well, no, but like in regards to what to expect from Kareem Hunt, I guess I'm more or less. I don't know how much he's going to actually play.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I was surprised, and I would have. I set the over/under at 11.5 for carries for Carson Steele, and that thing was crushed with 17.
I said 15, and you guys all called me crazy.
Because I thought you were crazy. That's why we called you crazy. I thought you were crazy. I don't just say it if I don't think it. I'm not just going to make it up. I actually thought that, Sterling.
I ripped the under, too.
I really thought you were crazy. But what was the Vegas rushing attempt over-under for? I don't know. I didn't look at it.
Probably 12?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, 12 and a half. Like Zach Moss was 12 and a half.
Yeah,
like Carson Steele, I would guess, would have been less than that because then Samaje Perine getting carries. But he got 17, so does that mean then now he's going to take less carries so that Kareem Hunt will get more carries?
But he was effective. That's my point.
Here's Andy. Here's Andy Reid.
All right. Don't have any injuries for you. We're able to practice today. Look for the challenge of playing the Chargers. Very well-coached football team, and they've got good players, and so we've got to have a good week of preparation. We have plenty of things to work on coming out of the last game. So we'll start on that today. So with that time, George.
And the decision to bring Kareem Hunt up, what have you seen of him, throughout this last time we talked to you that made you say he's ready for the game?
Yeah, so I thought he had a good week of practice last week. He took the majority of the scout team reps, and looks like he's in pretty good shape. So now the next step is just getting him in the game. So he'll rotate in, and we'll see how he does.
And how do you see that workload getting split up between?
I don't know, Adam. We'll just see how things go. I'll play it by ear with him. We've got 3 good running backs, and so we just get him back into the swing of things. See how it rolls.
Andy, last week, did you get much of a chance to get a sense of how up to date he can be with what you're doing? I know he was scout team a lot, so I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like his retention was pretty good. So, and this week will help too, just going through it. But he's got a pretty good feel on what we're doing.
Andy, what do you like just about the running game has worked so far the first 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think first of all, compliments to Heck and the offensive line and the players. I mean, they've done a great job with that, and we've had positive yards, and that's it's a nice addition to everything. In this league, you got to be able to mix things in there, and that gives you a good power run game and still be able to throw the ball.
And I know you want to have a good running game anyway, but just with the way the teams have defended you over the past few years, how vital is that to be able to run when you see the boxes that you're seeing?
Yeah, no, that's important. It's important. You always try to keep defenses honest, and they're doing the same thing back to you. So it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game on the number of people in the box, but it's been productive. So we've got good positive yards from it.
Coach, in your game prep, what gives you optimism that Travis, by his standards, will be a lot more production starting on Sunday?
Yeah, so I know people are saying that he's old or whatever, has distractions and all this, and the defenses don't think that. And so we have another receiver that plays opposite him that has a lot of yards and catches, and that's how this thing goes. So Trav is fine. He just keeps being Trav. He works his tail off, and he hasn't lost his step and all those things. And he's not distracted. That's not the case. People are making sure they have him taken care of by some of these defenses.
He seems to be one of the kind of guys who, listen, he wants targets, he wants to know, but it doesn't really bother him if he knows what there's double teams and other things are open. How nice is that to have someone who's not selfish in that way?
Yeah. No, he literally knows. I mean, he does know that, and he collects people. And then you have the checkdowns that we had last week, these big gains off the check, or Noah standing in the middle of the field by himself, for being able to get one-on-one situations. That's a and Trav knows it. I mean, he literally said, he came off the field and goes, man, just keep dialing him up and let him do that. So.
Any characteristics, you haven't coached against Jim Harbaugh in a while. We just got a few games of him back here in the National Football League. Any same characteristics as before, the way you remember him when he was coaching in San Francisco?
Yeah, first of all, he's a phenomenal football coach. He's proven that at every level. So, and that'll be no different here with the Chargers. And it's a physical football team. That's when you play them, you know that. And on both sides of the ball, special teams, they're going to be sound. They're going to be able to, for everything that's said, they're going to be able to throw the ball as well as they run the ball. So you got to be ready for a complete game. Their defenses are they're going to give you a variety of looks. You got to be on your game when you play their defense. They're one of the top defenses in the NFL right now. So it's a tribute to how they've gone about their business there.
Andy, I know you obviously like Rashid, you drafted him last year, but are there things about his game maybe you didn't fully appreciate until now? Or is this the player you envisioned when you drafted him?
Yeah. No, I would tell you, Adam, that we felt he was pretty good when he was here. I believe he led the league in rushing the 1 year, and so that's pretty good accomplishment. And things worked out the way they worked out. We're glad to have him back.
No, I'm sorry, Rashid Rice.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rashid. I'm sorry. Yeah,
That's right.
Kareem. Yeah, stuck on Kareem. I know he's coming in here after me. So Rashid, yes, he's as good as we were hoping he would be. The thing you don't know, Adam, when you get into this is the work ethic, and he works his tail off. His willingness to get with Pat and to listen, let's work in this area, to get with Kels and drain Kels of some of his knowledge. And he's very receptive to all that.
Andy, just one other thing about the running game. Obviously, you had some faith in Carson, but to see him do what he did last week, how reassured are you going forward that, okay, that's more established than perhaps you would have thought?
Listen, I thought he did a nice job for his first game. I thought he did a real nice job. And he's got to fix a couple things on protection, but he'll take care of that. And the run game, he was hitting the right holes and working the daylight. He was finishing runs, and he corrected trying to elbow guys going through with his carry hand, and cleaned that up from the week before. So, but he gives you an honest down, and he's gonna run hard. He's a big kid, but he's gonna come at you.
Coach, with the last three was Steve, Nate, and then Sam. Coach Steve, coaches with as many close games as like these down to the wire games that you've had early on in the season. Do you find that to be tougher on your guys as opposed to later in the season, or does it matter?
I think the guys expect to come into these things playing 4 quarters. When you play good teams, you've got to come in with that mindset. And I think we're all seeing the parity in this league is ridiculous. So, I mean, everybody on any given Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever we play, that you're going to get an honest game. And it gives every city an opportunity to have a potential winner. And that's what the league was striving for, and you're seeing it. And so we expect to get the best every Sunday, or every game day.
Andy, when you watch your defense, how much are you noticing that other teams are trying to get their tight ends involved? Considering how good you guys have been generating pressure and obviously being at the corner position, just is there something that you've sort of seen there about?
Yeah, that's observant, because really the tight end's kind of your quarterback's best friend. Those inside guys that play inside the hash number area, those are real quarterback-friendly guys. So the thing the NFL has right now are some really good tight ends that just aren't blockers, but they can get out and match up with the safeties in this league and nickels. So, our safeties work on that like crazy. Our nickels work on that like crazy. And those are big bodies that you gotta try to leverage. They're normally bigger than what you are on the back end there. So you gotta really be disciplined with it.
Sam? Andy, Patrick mentioned that his fundamentals he thought were off. What's just the process this week of fine-tuning that?
Yeah, so he's very hard on himself about that, and so you just go back and work your basic fundamentals, techniques, and get into a rhythm. So during the game and work on it in practice, but he's I don't ever worry about him working on those things. So he'll be fine.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
All right, there's Andy Reid. No injuries to report. Everybody practicing today. Kareem Hunt had a good week. Scout team reps last week. So next step is getting him involved in the game. He'll rotate in and play it by ear as to how much he'll play. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. Also, Travis Kelce saying that he's not old or distracted. He hasn't lost a step, but he's opening up room for a lot of guys. That Noah Gray 13-yard catch, go look at the all-22 of that. There are 5 players 10 yards deeper than Noah Gray for Worthy and Kelce. There are 5 Falcons players there, and that's why Noah Gray's standing wide open going, hey, I'm right here. Luckily, Mahomes threw him the ball. Speaking of which, here's Patrick Mahomes.
Talk about struggling or something, or not playing up to the standard that you'd expect. Sometimes you harp about going back to your footwork and everything. Over the course of these last couple of weeks, what do you assess in your performance that you feel like you need to work on to get better with, and how do you start that process now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first week there was good things. Thought I was pretty on time and in rhythm. Then last week I felt like I started off all right and then kind of got worse as the game went on. And then obviously this last week, I feel like especially in the first half, I was a little out of rhythm, not making throws that I usually make, and got a little bit better in the second half. But now all you can do is go back and practice. I think what I learned, at least from last year, is that it's not always going to pay off like right now, but if you continue to work at it, it will pay off in the long run. And so my hope is that it happens faster than it did last year, but all you can do is get back to work at practice.
Patrick, you obviously work on that stuff every week. Is there something different you do this week because of how last week went?
I think you just have to really emphasize it. Even on like the little throws, sometimes you go through a practice and there's throws that you almost know you're going to complete regardless, and so you kind of just throw them as like completion throws instead of throwing them to the exact accuracy that it needs to be in the game-like moment. And so that's when my goal this week is even like if you look at that shallow cross, a lot of times in practice you throw it and just right on the guy's body for a completion. I'm gonna work on making sure that I'm leading them in case there would be a guy behind them where he needs to catch the ball and run. And so it's just little things like that. I mean, you take them for granted a lot of times when you're going through these early year practices, but I'm gonna try to make sure that I stay on top of those things.
Patrick, in your eyes, what has allowed Rashid to really have an excellent start to the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I mean, just making plays. I think you've seen that he's been more versatile this year. He's able to run more and more routes. And then the way he's able to catch the ball and make stuff happen after the catch. I mean, he's a hard guy to tackle. And so being able to do both those things, I think it helps that the speed out there is kind of helping spread out the field for him. And then there's a lot of attention on Travis. But, I mean, when he's getting those one-on-one matchups, he's winning. And that's all you can ask for a guy. And he seems like he's getting better and better each and every week.
You mentioned the attention on Travis. How is he handling, I guess, some of the sort of late season adversity and maybe not having as much production as he wants?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's handling it amazing, honestly. Honestly, I feel like I want to get him the ball more, whereas he's just like, I just want to win, man. I don't care. Like, I'll run these routes and take guys with me so that other guys can get open. But we understand he's an important part of this offense, and we want to make sure that we're still featuring him. But at the same time, if defenses are going to take away him, I'll feed the ball to other guys and let them make plays. But as the season goes on, if we continue to show that we're going to throw it to Rasheed and we're going to throw it to these other guys that are going to make plays, teams are going to have to do those one-on-one matchups, and that's when Travis will eat.
Patrick, you've known Travis as long as anybody on the team. Do you think that 25-year-old Travis Kelce would be as accepting about not getting the ball as the 35-year-old Travis Kelce?
In all honesty, I think he's always been this guy. I mean, it's been great for me in my career is that he wants to make an impact in the game and he wants to make plays, but he wants to win at the end of the day. And so if we're winning, he's good with going out there and playing hard, blocking, do whatever he can to impact the game. And so whenever we're winning games like this, that's everybody, man. You just want to win at the end of the day. And so he's doing a great job, man, of being a leader on the team, playing hard, doing whatever he can to make an impact in the game. And when you do that in this league, usually good things come. And I'm excited for him to go out there and make an impact receiving the ball as well.
I know he was on the practice squad last week, but just what was it like getting to work again with Kareem and now having him elevated to obviously the active roster and the opportunity to play alongside him on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting. I mean, you can see how hungry he is. You can see still the explosiveness. You can see the way he runs the ball between the tackles. I mean, obviously you come in and you haven't had training camp and stuff like that, but he pushed through, man. I mean, he really did. He took that last week as his mini training camp, and he would finish every run and run back and get it again. And so I thought we did a great job in the run game last week with the running backs that were there. And so it'll be nice to just add Kareem in there, let him get going, and kind of have another dimension to that run game.
Patrick, you'd obviously rather win by more comfortable margins, but I wonder if you think there's some cumulative impact in winning the way you guys have, and if it serves you well as the season goes on.
It definitely makes you more comfortable in those situations. I think more than anything for me, I think just executing at a higher level in the fourth quarter would be nice for the offense, especially. I mean, if you look at that second half last week, and in those first few drives in the third quarter, we were moving the ball well, moving it right down the field, and then it's like in the fourth quarter we didn't finish the game, and so that's the next step for us. I mean, if you look back on our history, even in some of these close games, usually when we get the ball in those 4-minute modes, we can kind of run the time off. And if we don't, we leave enough time where Spags and them can close the door. And Spags and them have been doing that, but we've been doing it with a little bit, I would say, too much time, with 5 minutes on the clock and 6 minutes on the clock and stuff like that. And so I think offensively we got to help the defense out by running some of that time off the clock or scoring a touchdown to kind of put the game out of reach. And so then the defense can be the defense and be Spags and be creative and get those game-ending interceptions instead of having to really hold it down there at the end in the red zone.
Patrick, you've talked about so much attention on Travis. Can you give an example of the Atlanta game from something you saw in film or in the game?
I remember there was a play. I don't know if Coach talked about it, but we did a play-action play, and I was going to throw it to Travis. It was kind of the design play, and I remember the linebacker and both safeties were all three looking at Travis in the middle of the field. And I ended up throwing to Noah for like 13 yards, and Noah literally just ran a sit right over the ball in the middle of everybody, and not one person went with him. And I mean, that's the impact that he has in the game. I mean, it helps out other guys. I mean, but it's at the same time, if we show that Noah can catch that 13 to 15 yards, whatever it is, or if he takes guys and Rasheed catches the ball and breaks the tackle and gets 15, 20 yards. I mean, teams have to adjust if they don't. I mean, Rasheed's only have 2,000 yards, so it's part of the game. I obviously want to give him the ball and let him make an impact the game that way. But the more defenses respect him, other guys get open and other guys make plays.
Can you talk about the job that Wanye did?
I thought he did a great job. I mean, every time his numbers gotten called, man, he's stepped up and done a great job blocking in the pass and the run game. He's getting better and better. And it's a great thing, man, to have guys that can step in and play great football when called upon. That's what you want on any football team, and I'm excited for him and his future.
Harold?
Chargers with a new coach. Just what have you seen in their first few games under Coach Harbaugh that make you see it's a little different than maybe years past you faced?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell first off this is how hard they play. I mean, everybody on that entire team, they believe they play extremely hard every single snap. They fly around to the football. You can tell they understand the scheme and what they're doing. And then, I mean, from everything I've heard from Harbaugh, I haven't got to meet him yet, but I heard he's a great coach, a great person. I mean, Alex Smith talked very highly of him whenever he was here and how organized and how he got the team ready to go every single week. And so, I mean, you've seen that at every stop he's been, he's won. And that speaks to him and his mentality and how he coaches his guys.
Todd? This is outside the NFL, but you're involved in Texas Tech's NIL, doing some things down there, and we're seeing some NIL things now. The kid from UNLV has said he's not going to play because he didn't give his money. I mean, where are we here? You've seen this from the other side of it in college football. Is this just some growing pains in the system, or what do you think maybe should happen?
Yeah, I don't want to speak crazy a lot on it because I don't know exactly all the details of that situation or really the whole deal. But I think NIL is a great thing for players and a lot of families that maybe not got those opportunities to make that money and be able to make it in college. But they're going to have to figure out a system, just kind of like any other thing. Whenever money's coming in, making sure contracts are signed, making sure the language is dealt out the right way. And I don't know what that answer is, but there's definitely been some times where money not being paid and stuff like that has affected the play on the field. And these are young kids, man. I mean, I know they're right at the edge of becoming adults, but I don't know if I'd have been ready for that type of thing coming out as an 18-year-old kid. And so hopefully we can find some accountability both ways so that we can make sure that our game that we love in college football stays at a high level.
Sam?
Patrick, obviously, Rushy looks more comfortable in the offense. Can you take us through what you've seen over him over the last year that, he's used that time wisely? And does something come to mind that you've seen in a game that it showed up?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think he's learned a ton. He doesn't make the same mistakes. I always say that, but it's important because, it's not always the truth, and he learns from his mistakes, and he doesn't make the same mistake twice. And then I think at the end of the day, what I love about Rasheed more than anything is he plays extremely hard every single snap, and that's something that can't be taught. You have to have this mentality that you want to compete and win. And so it might not always be perfect. It might not always be the perfect route or the perfect way that he read the coverage, but he plays hard so that when you give him the football, he's going to run and get whatever's there. It gives energy, kind of like when Pop runs the football, it gives energy to the whole team because of how hard and competitive he's playing out there.
And how much does that change you as a quarterback, targeting him in a game?
Yeah, I've obviously built confidence with him that I can go to him in these big moments, third downs, red zone, and he's going to go out there and make the plays happen. And kind of like in the 4th and 6 when I completed the pass in the Bengals game, is he's gained that trust from me, man, that he's going to go out there and make the play, and he's going to compete. It's cool to see, man, because he's still a young player. He's still going to get better and better. But it's cool to see that all that hard work's paying off.
Okay, thanks, Patrick.
Thank you.
All right, there's Patrick Mahomes weighing in on Rashee Rice, his development, not making the same mistake twice, his need to get better as a quarterback in the fundamentals of the whole thing. And interesting, he said the first week his time and rhythm was on and was fine. The first half against the Bengals, he was good. He felt good. Second half, he could feel it sort of going with the fundamentals, and it carried over into the first half against the Falcons. And then he said second half, it was a little bit better. And we talked about that with Adam Teicher yesterday, that first half, second half was different in the Falcons game. First half, his feet were all over the place. Arm angle all over the place. Ball was all over the place. Second half is when he ripped both of those crossers to Kelsey and Rashee Rice. Second half is when he stayed in the pocket and manipulated that a little bit more. He had less happy feet where first drive, there were some times he dropped back and his feet just never stopped. And it's immediately hopping and throwing. And it's like, okay, he doesn't have trust in those tackles. And we've seen that before. And maybe he's looking at the film at halftime or on the sideline and going, oh, that was good protection. Oh, that was good protection too. Oh, wait, hey, they had good protection. Okay.
What did Andy say after the game? He's going to look back and realize he didn't need to.
Yeah, what was it?
But basically, it was
along those lines.
Along the lines of, hey, protection was better
than
I think he thought it was.
Yeah, and paraphrasing, but
yes,
yeah, it's a good pull on what Andy said because that's what it looked like in the second half. It looked better. Not that they went out and scored every single time they had the ball, but he looked better and more accurate and more confident. And making some of those decisions. I mean, he had a higher completion percentage, and he had one touchdown, no interceptions in the second half. And He had 2 touchdowns and no interceptions after the first drive. Take that. Yeah, you eliminate that first drive of the game. Mahomes didn't throw an interception on Sunday.
If you eliminate the first 3 games the Bengals have played,
yeah, they
haven't lost yet.
Undefeated. Never lost. Undefeated. Never lost. That's what they do. They just win, no matter what. They're DJ Khaled or DJ Curse that's going tonight for the, or is it Hearse? DJ Hers for the Nationals. DJ Hers. DJ Hers. Yeah. Patrick Mahomes press conference brought to you by Xfinity X1. Easily search across live TV, on-demand sports, and your favorite streaming apps to find the best ways to watch what you love. Xfinity X1. Brought to you by Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park, the only Volvo dealership in Kansas City where luxury and safety meet. Premier Volvo Cars of Overland Park at 78th and Metcalf or at premiervolvocarsoverlandpark.com. And brought to you by GEHA. Could be on the 50 at GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Enter to win at chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA, a proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. We will hear from Kareem Hunt here. Said that he'll be a few minutes. Right now, he's talking with Brad G. Not sure. There's
getting some PR training before he goes up there.
Never stop coaching. There's always coaching going on. Here's what they're going to ask you. Here's what you need to say. Also, you don't know who's starting at left tackle.
Yeah.
Shoot, that was last week. God, what's the issue this week?
You're excited to be back.
You haven't read up on the
speak.
You haven't read up on the
speak.
UNLV quarterback yet.
Yeah.
You don't know about Matthew Sluka. What else? We can figure out here.
Just say every question. I'm just excited to get out there and play football.
You're excited not to be around Deshaun Watson anymore.
No, Kareem. Okay. You have to say, I'm excited to be around Patrick Mahomes.
I don't know. That might actually be good PR to say. What
yeah, that might be good. Yeah.
I got him not around that guy anymore, huh? Am I right, everybody? No, but anyway, tip your bar and wait staff, okay? Thank goodness I'm not around him, right? But no, he's a sexual predator. But anyway, we're excited for the Chargers game coming up this weekend.
Do you have to say allegedly?
I'm pretty sure that's not allegedly
We've
anymore.
passed that.
Is it past the allegedly? I'm always.
I'll tell you what.
That.
I'll tell you
maybe the 2 that come out lately or whatever allegedly. But
I'll tell you what. Brett Favre, sue me.
There you go.
I'm always like.
I think I'm in the safe, space there with slander when it's not going to affect his reputation.
It's always like Barry Bonds, where it's like I'm still allegedly. Like Barry Bonds' dome grew larger. He must have taken steroids allegedly.
Me saying that will get me choked up. Okay. Going Andy Reid here. Doggone it, Herbie. Me saying that will not affect his earning potential and will not affect his reputation. So I think I'm fine on that one with the non-allegedly.
I'm just me personally. I'm always team allegedly. I'm always team allegedly.
Is there a team allegedly? Is there
There's
actually
a couple times where I might not be, and
yeah. Is there a team allegedly? Is that like your softball team or your fantasy football team is team allegedly?
That's actually really good.
And it's got to be called team allegedly. It can't just be allegedly. It's got to be team allegedly. And then you got to draft some players. I mean, you got to have a certain player, right? Like you can't have a fantasy baseball team named Alcides Nuts and then not have Alcides Escobar on there. So
mine was actually Lorenzo Kane UCD's nuts because I had Lorenzo Kane back in the day.
If you're going to have a fantasy football team named Patrick and Mahomes,
you got to have Mahomes.
Patrick and Mahomes, then you have to draft Patrick Mahomes.
Like if your team name is Neighbors Think I'm Selling Dope, you got to have Malik Neighbors. Yeah.
Here's Kareem Hunt.
Did you ever think you'd be back here, given the way it ended the last time around?
Honestly, no. I didn't think I'd end up back here, but, it's crazy how some things, happen and work out.
Kareem, when you left here, and it was repeated by Andy Reid the other day, they said that you needed to get help. Did you feel like you got help? Was that something that you did once you left here?
I mean, yeah, I was very young at that time, 23, had a lot of success going for me, and felt like I guess I needed time to, figure myself out and, learn. And I felt like it was, good for me to do that. I had the opportunity to go to the Browns and stuff, and that's my hometown, so I guess it worked out.
What do you think you learned about yourself in that time?
What do you think I learned?
Yeah, about yourself, not the football part.
Yeah, I mean, I learned that, I just gotta, think before every decision. I learned that, everybody doesn't have their best interest for me, even family, friends, and stuff like that. I just had to reflect on a lot of things and see, how to end up here.
Kareem, everything kind of went down in 18, and then from 19 to 24 or 23, there was all the success. Just what were the emotions like, seeing your former teammates just have this kind of magical run?
Oh, it was great. I was a part of it, in the beginning, and I was just so happy and thrilled for them. I wanted them to win all along, and they deserve it. They got great coaches, great players, and everybody, comes and does their job.
What was it like for you not being a part of that as they were winning Super Bowls?
Well, it was hard, but, I had to just, think about, the good, and they deserve it. Comes and does their job.
What was it like for you not being a part of that as they were winning Super Bowls?
Well, it was hard, but, I had to just, think about, the good positive things. I was so, excited for, Coach Reed to win multiple Super Bowls. I wanted to be, the guy to help him do that too. So I still got a lot of close friends on this team, and, I couldn't be more excited for them to, see them achieve their goals.
Indian pattern.
You talk about you went to Patrick's wedding, and he referenced it, and the coach referenced the conversation he had with you at that wedding. Can you talk about that day, and do you have any idea that it was going to be so big?
I mean, it was just great. Pat and I came in together. We've been real tight since we, entered the NFL. And, it was one of those great weddings. It was, like, perfect. And, getting to see all those guys and, be around them, hang out, and enjoy it. Honestly, I thought it was going to be, I was with Cleveland at the time still, but, if they had the chance, they would try to get me back and stuff like that. So it was it made me feel good. I just wanted to make sure I just keep doing the right thing and, taking care of my family and going out there and showing up on tape.
Pat and Andy are very day by day, put in the work today. But,
yeah.
Thinking long term, what would a championship, a ring mean in the course of this journey to kind of sort of come full circle in that sense?
I mean, that's been my goal. I feel like any player who steps on the football field wants to, get a championship ring. And, it'll be, a dream come true for me ever since I was a little kid. And, I couldn't be more excited to, help these guys defend that title and, come back around here and see all these familiar faces and, family here.
What was it like emotionally for you to come back here with the feeling of a second chance to be part of this?
You said what was it like?
Yeah, emotionally to feel like you're coming back with a second chance to be part of it all.
I mean, it was a lot, honestly. It was, a lot of emotions. I was very excited, a little nervous and stuff like that. So I said, these guys know me. I just got to go and be myself, man.
What were kind of the first thoughts that entered your mind as you walked in the building?
What was my first thought? I mean, honestly, my first thought is the building smelled the same. Looks the same, and it was just, brought back so many memories, and I couldn't be more excited, to go play for a head coach like Coach Reed.
Can you take us through the process of, figuring out that there was interest there and just lining up here?
Well, I'm not really sure. It just worked out at the end of the day. Got the call, we got on the phone and talked about it, and was on the flight.
Go ahead,
Just, can you tell us about your conversation with Coach Reed when you got here, what that was like, and what sort of things he tried to get across and wanted to express to him?
Oh, just our conversation was good. We just caught up, I asked about my family, how everything was going. I asked him about his family and stuff like that. We just, we just left off. He knows what type of person I am, and he just said, man, you just do what you've been doing, keep your nose clean, and, stay focused, and everything's going to, come full circle for you.
We're going to go around the room. Steve, go ahead.
Coach Reed talked about you coming off hernia surgery last year, fighting back through that. How healthy are you now, and what can you bring to this offense?
Well, honestly, I fought through that all last year, and I actually got that done this offseason, and I feel great, so I'm glad that I was able to get healthy and you know, not have that nagging me the whole season. So I'm excited to see, you know, being fully healthy out there for, you know, these weeks to come.
Nate? Kareem, have you envisioned what it's going to be like Sunday back in Los Angeles, putting the uniform on for the first time? And if you are able to play for the rest of the season, just what do you hope to sort of prove to yourself more than anyone else?
Well, you know, it's still hard to envision. I guess once that day comes, it's gonna feel real because, you know, it's been a long time coming. I can't wait to put on the red again and, you know, go out there with, you know, these guys and put it all on the line for them. And I envision going out there and, you know, whatever I'm asked to do, just do it at the highest level and, you know, help find a way to, you know, keep this winning going on around here.
Kareem, are you the same player you were when you were here the last time around? Are you capable of still doing the same things you did for the Chiefs back then?
Yeah, I believe I'm very capable of that still. And I'm excited to go, you know, help shock the world and show them I still got it.
We'll go last couple, Nick and then Todd. Go, Nick. Kareem, from 2018 when you're here until now, kind of what differences do you see in this team and kind of the culture overall?
I see a lot of, you know, talent around here, and they had a bunch of talent ever since I was here, and I just seen, you know, the way, you know, Pat has grown and matured and, you know, became the leader of this team because when my rookie year I played with Alex, and he was like that, so I feel like just seeing the player he turned in to be, and I couldn't be more happier.
Todd?
Back in 18, it seemed to be a decision made at ownership level to have you not be on the team anymore. Have you take me back to that time, and then have you had conversations with ownership to come back here, and what were those like maybe?
I mean, yeah, through that time I was just, you know, I would say I was going through a lot, so I really just had to focus on myself at that time, and you know, those guys wanted the best for me and cared for me, and you know, I hate the situation that it came down to, but honestly, I feel like it made me stronger, a stronger person, you know, and you know, taught me a lot about myself. So I was able to, you know, reflect and, you know, learn from it and just bounce back. And then ownership, I'll hopefully get to talk to him soon. You know, I just don't like I don't really know what to say about that.
Matt?
Kareem, I'm sure the last couple of weeks have been a bit of a whirlwind. How did being on the scout team last week just help you get into the swing of things, prepare you for this week?
You know, it just felt good being out there running the football again and playing football. And honestly, that's what you need to do to get, you know, football ready, game ready, is go out there and practice and, you know, make those sudden cuts and finish your runs and stuff like that. So I feel like it did a good job of preparing me, and I can't wait to keep stacking days.
Okay, thanks, Kareem.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, there's Kareem Hunt, said battling the groin injury all last year, and now he's fully healthy, got that fixed in the offseason, but certainly sounds like a guy that has gone through a lot, self-inflicted a lot, but also saying that one of the lessons he's learned is that not everybody has your best interest, and you got to reflect on that to see who actually cares about you. There's a lot of growing up that happens for everybody between age 23 and 29. He left Kansas City as a 23-year-old, being kicked off the team, and returns as a 29-year-old. A lot of growing for every person in the world from age 23 to 29 and maturing, except for Sterling. He's an old soul.
I would concur with that statement.
No, absolutely. Everybody does. I joke. I kid. But Kareem Hunt certainly sounds like somebody that's that is appreciative of being in the spot that he is now and has an opportunity to go out there and put on a Chiefs uniform on Sunday against the Chargers and play some football. We'll see him in the game on Sunday. Andy Reid saying that, you know, he's going to get in the game and rotate in, play it by ear as to how much he plays. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. We'll talk with Braden Gull. There's a big college football story going on right now, and we'll talk with him about that, his takeaway, his view on that, and some local team conversation coming up next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Mick Schaefer, we'll talk with him coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Right now, let's talk some college football. Braden Gall, owner of the 440 Sports Podcast Network, Athlon Sports, ESPN Radio, joining us here in the zone. Braden, welcome into the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you? I was telling the production staff, like, I'm going to need a larger paycheck. Otherwise, I'm not coming back next week.
Well, that was a verbal commitment. I get that. We'll see what we can try to do. What if we offered you a little bit less than what we originally agreed upon?
Look, there's a station in Boulder that has come to me in the last week and would like me to do Tuesdays at around this time. I'm just saying.
Okay. No, that makes total sense. I guess you got to do what you got to do because we've reached out and we're sort of tapped. We don't have the Louis.
This is just not what you guys promised me, though. You guys, look, this is not what you guys promised me. So I don't expect to get bumped by running backs. Okay, that's not what you promised me.
I do love the connection here between you and Matthew Sluka, and that would make this show the UNLV of sports radio stations and shows. I started the show, Braden, by letting people know, all right, this is the latest of what's going on. I said, boy, we are so smart for scheduling Braden for today. We are very smart that we had Braden on today. We waited for this story. We knew it was brewing, right? You and I have talked about it for months, just waiting for this story to break at 11:56 on a Tuesday night for us to talk about it. But this thing has so many layers, and it's been discussed, and so many people weighing in. What's your reaction and thought around Matthew Sluka, the quarterback for UNLV, announcing on Twitter last night he is going to sit out the rest of the season? He will redshirt after 3 games. There were conversations and some things with NIL that he said were promised to him that did not come about upon enrolled. After I enrolled, despite discussions, it became clear the commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. Wish my teammates the best of luck this season. Hope the continued success of the program. So what do you make of some of the other news that's also come out about what was going on?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I had to go I had a meeting, and then I did a quick workout, and I'm like, okay, what's happened in the last 2 hours? And certainly this morning when I was sort of checking in on it and sort of throwing out some text messages to some folks to sort of get some perspective on I've long believed that those of us who believe that there is not constant communication between all parties at all times, I feel like you're just being naive. Like, every single human has a cell phone, mostly in this world. That's assistant coach, an agent, a player. They all have phones. They all have social media accounts. You can reach these people in 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 different ways. And to suggest that these folks don't know each other from previous stops or previous relationships or 7-on-7 tournaments or the recruiting trail, everybody knows each other. Everyone can get access to each other, and everyone's talking to each other. So I think that on the front end, the idea that there is not quote-unquote tampering is comical to me. I think it's very naive for anyone to think that a player doesn't talk to a coach, and a coach doesn't talk to an agent, and the agent doesn't talk to another recruit, and that recruit doesn't talk to a player on the team. And so that's I think you have to sort of acknowledge that the system we have built, this is going to happen because there is constant communication. We are all way too connected via the internet in this country and in the world, and so it's just going to happen. Which means there's then going to be folks trying to take advantage of verbal agreements. As we've learned, this sounds like it was, according to some reports, a $100,000 offer, of course, by an assistant coach and through the agent. But again, consider the source, right? You got to consider the source of where you get some of this information. It seems like, while the numbers may not be exact, I'm hesitant to believe the exact numbers, right? This $3,000 per month is all that he's getting versus $100,000 he was promised. And I tend to not believe those numbers exactly, but I do believe that the gap is too wide for this to be, a situation that is fixable in the short term. Here's my problem. He is worth more than that. I'm not saying that what he's doing is right. I'm not condoning his behavior, or I don't love using the word quit. If someone at your business promised you X amount of dollars and then offered you 10% of that, not a single one of us would stick it out and do the job. So let's be honest with ourselves on this. But at the end of the day, I don't believe those are in my heart. My guess is the numbers are still far apart, but are probably not those exact numbers. But at the end of the day, a win over, the way UNLV's played with the wins they've got, if they've got a chance at a New Year's Six bowl status or playoff spot, he is worth way more than $100,000. So, is it worth some capital on the front end to take the risk and go make a run at the playoff? Absolutely, it should be. You got a Power 5 coach and a quarterback that might be worth the money. Is it fair? Is it right? love all these things, but at the end of the day, this is the bed we've all made. The NCAA, players, coaches, the administration's TV contracts, everything has pushed us to this place. And so we got to deal with the fallout and the situations. And this one's just the most sort of alarming and egregious. And, I mean, heck, the Reggie Bush stuff happened at USC 20 years ago because a dirty agent promised Reggie Bush stuff and then threw him under the bus when he didn't get what he wanted. And so I don't, is anyone surprised? Is anyone shocked by this, I guess, is ultimately my final question.
I'm not surprised that there's a dispute with NIL. I'm surprised that you have a player, 3-4 weeks into the season, 3 games for them, 4 weeks into the college football season, and a player that means as much to this team that's saying, yep, I'm done. I'm just stepping down. I'm going to redshirt and transfer, and I'll go somewhere else because of some of these discussions or commitments that were not fulfilled. That is a surprise to me because I would think that it would take a rare sort of connection, a situation of a player who's at a spot, who feels like he's been wronged, feels like he's not getting the value he was promised, is important enough to that team to hold that leverage, and then also have the stones to, hold up his end of the threat and that I will walk away if you don't give me the money. And how many guys would feel the peer pressure from, teammates of all of those things to go, all right, well, I'm just going to have to stick it out, and this sucks. I got screwed here. I'm going to let people know not to go to UNLV, but I'm going to, work hard. I'm surprised that it actually did have a player that all of those things sort of coming together and now deciding he's on his own just going to redshirt and transfer at semester.
Yeah. And look, I mean, if we want to spend some time like sort of irresponsibly speculating, which of course Live Radio is the best place to do that, is it possible that he just, there was some sort of agreement for an amount of money, and all of a sudden he's starting to realize that he's worth a lot more, and then all of a sudden other schools have kind of sent some feelers out. This goes back to my point about communication.
Yeah.
All of a sudden some other schools are like, hey, dude, if you take this red shirt, we'll pay you more. We know you're unhappy. We know you think you're worth more. I mean, is it possible that that's just exactly what's happened, and that this preconceived promise of $100,000 was actually just fabricated? Again, all of this is he said.
That's what UNLV is presenting. I mean, the UNLV side is presenting that. So.
Right. And so, look, if you want to go down that path and just say hypothetically, again, you could have a legitimate discussion about his value. There's another conversation about this, and it goes back to when the portal first became sort of a first-time transfer eligible right away kind of thing, and there's like 1,700 players going into the portal with scholarships entering the portal, and a third of them coming out with scholarships. Well, hopefully people have learned that that's not necessarily going to be the best option. Let's look at Ollie Gordon for a second at Oklahoma State. Is there any way that you could argue that he should have come back to school through 4 games, through 4 weeks? There's no way. There's a really important lesson in many players in college football. We always jump to praise the player to come back to school. And in my heart of hearts, I want to believe, playing for your alma mater and playing for the logo and the history and the pageantry and the tradition is always great. And a lot of times it's always great for the school. It's not always the best decision for the player. And so if Ollie Gordon had gone pro, I think he'd be doing better right now. So I think I say all of that to talk to a quarterback who's played 3 meaningful games at a level higher than Holy Cross, who is good right now and can strike while the iron is hot right now. It's a major risk to do what he's doing and to guarantee as a 5th-year player, right? Like there's no guarantee that you come back and you're as good or that you end up in a better spot. Sure, you might make a short-term, pop of cash here, but I don't, is that amount of money? It's hard to tell. I mean, if you'd have told me, at 22 years old, I've got $100,000 for you, that would have changed my life. It's easy for me as a 42-year-old to say all right, what's the long-term investment and payout here, and do the math on it like a responsible adult after my frontal lobe finally developed 30 years later. There's a very important lesson to don't let yourself become irrelevant too fast. And I'm not suggesting that's what's going to happen here, but again, if we're doing all this speculation and trying to consider all the angles, the financial decision and risk you are putting yourself by taking yourself out of conversation in at least on the field, taking yourself off the field, taking tape away from yourself and your own resume, there's a lot there, and I realize he's at the end of it, so he's got to decide. And maybe it's a risk that pays off. Maybe it's a risk where he ends up with an offer from a high-level school, gets a great education, gets a great opportunity to play on a better team in a better conference. And maybe that's all true, and maybe it's not. I'm always cool with people betting on themselves. That's the American way. I don't love how fast certain media is to use words like quitting. Again, when every single person at that particular, I know a lot of those folks at that particular media entity, and not a single one of them would continue to do their job if promised $100,000 and given $3. Not one of them would do it. So I understand we hold 18 to 22-year-olds to a higher standard than the rest of us in civilization, because playing college football is a noble cause that we all believe in for the love of the game. Like, no, man, that ain't how America works. Yeah, so that part rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
Because now this happens, college football is ruined. I'm not watching this weekend. I'm not. Nobody's going to watch this weekend. People aren't going to pay attention because college football is just completely different. It's not the way that I know and love it. And I refuse to do it.
If this was USC or Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia or it would impact all of our sort of viewing habits and conversations, and it would take over national airwaves and all this other stuff. It's almost more interesting because it's happening at a UNLV level, but it's certainly not going to be a part of your life as a college football fan for very long. Good or bad, right or wrong, whatever happens is not a part of your life as a college football fan.
I know that you were talking about the communication that's there. Braden Gull is our guest, College Football Insider. I know you were talking about that everybody's got a phone and the communication that takes place, and whether that is tampering or just reaching out to a friend. I'm just trying to catch up. Hey, how's school going? That's all. We developed a relationship during the recruiting process. But if that's the case, is he a guy that, you talk about keeping your name out there and don't get forgotten? Will he be coveted in this offseason if it's viewed as, oh, my God, he didn't get a certain amount of money, and so he, as you're talking about, the label being used, he quit on his team that was, one of the favorites in the group of 5 that was ranked 29th in the country if we follow the others receiving votes in the nation, and 3-0, and he was a big reason why, and he left because of a money dispute with the school. Do I want that guy coming in and leading my program and my players? Like, how coveted will he be? Or it's college football and they'll go, he's the best quarterback for us right now, so we'll go ahead and get him and bring him in, and he's going to be our quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's two things it's dependent on two things. Like, what's the actual story? And make no mistake, when you hear an athletic department hiring a search firm, the search firm is to hire ADs and coaches or whatever. Like, the search firm's job is really just to be a government spook. Like, that's what they are. They have boots on the ground in every market in America, learning and digging up background information. It is former, government operatives who are literally private security who are down on the ground doing research. Like, that's what search firms are. And so if you're a coaching staff on another program that has the resources, like, you're going to have the backstory on this pretty accurately, and you'll know, all right, is this kid sort of a selfish player who's out looking out for himself and only wants a paycheck, and that's not necessarily the direction we want to go? Or, hey, this guy got kind of screwed here on a deal, and we need to overlook some of the things that are being said. That's number one. And then, of course, number two, how good you are. But ultimately, just hearing you say, like, oh, I don't want that guy running my program. Look, let's ask NFL teams. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the bowl game opt-out conversation. Like, NFL teams, ask them how much they care about a player playing in a bowl game. And if that's a concern that they have about the long-term success or failure of a player producing on the NFL level, 0%, no one cares. It's not an indictment of your character. It's not an indictment of who you are. Is this different? Absolutely. I would then hold up Joey Bosa as the next, or I guess it would be Nick Bosa. Excuse me, I got my Bosas confused. Nick Bosa got hurt against TCU like week 2 of the regular season, then proceeded to sit out the rest of the entire season. And Ohio State players on that team were like, good. So, like, they were rooting for him to get his and be a high draft pick and all that stuff. So I think the media and the fans, we like to clutch our pearls and wring our hands about this kind of stuff. Again, when it's an 18 to 22-year-old kid that we think we can label as something, and at the end of the day, not a single one of us would hesitate to hold our employers accountable for revenue promised to us or do what's in our own best interest for our families. So I think a lot of times we talk out of both sides of our mouth there.
This is Braden Gall's our guest. One of the things that I've heard, and I saw it earlier today, or at least read on Twitter and things coming across the timeline, is like, well, here you go. This is what we're now going to be witnessing in college football in 2024 and beyond. Is players like this, decisions like this. We're going to see more and more of these players. Is this welcome to college football 2024, or is this welcome to this player's specific decision in college football that has, or at least offers the power for a particular player to make this decision?
I think that's interesting. I'm really of the belief that all the issues, quote unquote, that have sort of come up, all these sort of random circumstances, whether it's Jaden Rashada or this one or whatever, just like Nico's a part of this, right? The headline $8 million for a 5-star player, like all this stuff. This is all the NCAA's fault. And at the end of the day, they could have stopped all this, solved all this, put things in place to manage all of this. 20 years ago, they knew about this problem, and they knew this was coming before Ed O'Bannon filed the lawsuit. And so ultimately, this is the NCAA, and that means the universities, because all the NCAA is a collection of universities. And so they should have figured this out a long time ago. And I'm of the belief that in the newer form of the game, whatever it looks like when we're settled with all of this stuff, when antitrust lawsuits are done and all the stuff we don't want to talk about, rule changes in Congress and NIL and attorneys general and all this other stuff, like when all of that is finally ironed out and we have a new governing model of the sport, it will handle all of this stuff. Like, it's all going to be figured out. So we can complain. I understand if somebody's like, oh, I don't really love where this is going, or how is the coach supposed to manage his roster, and et cetera, et cetera. It's all temporary. It's all a short-term period of chaos until we finally, get our you-know-what together. And it's going to be, I don't know if that's a commissioner's office, if it's a governing body, if it's a 50-team breakaway. Like, you can come up with a lot of different ways that's going to work. A subsection of the NCAA. How about a players' union that is an entity attached to the NFL Players Union? Who better to negotiate player union rights than the major organization that already does it for football players on the professional level? Why isn't there a college division of that instead of trying to spin it up at a whole cloth? So there's going to be a new governing model in some way, shape, or form in probably the next, let's say, 4 to 10 years. I know that's a large window, but given that, I'm sort of just like, all right, I'm here for the chaos. Let's roll. Let's have fun. Let's see what it looks like. Let's see what 12 teams looks like. Let's have fun with it. Conference realignment. Sure, Syracuse and Stanford are playing an ACC game on a Friday night, and yes, Washington and Rutgers are not playing a Big East or a Pac-12 game this week. They're playing a Big Ten game this week. Great. Let's get to let's wait till we see like a finalized new structure for the sport before we lose our minds about the future of the game.
And yes, the Pac-12 was panicking and needed schedules, and the Mountain West was like, all right, we'll let you schedule some of the teams in our conference. And then the Pac-12 was like, awesome, cool, we're going to take your teams now. So, it's all fun. It's all fun. I know we got to let you go, but I am complete in agreement with this being the NCAA. And, man, I couldn't stand when, this morning there was so many reactions of like, hey, NCAA told you so. They tried to tell you that this – shut up.
What?
No.
I'm so glad I haven't seen those.
This is what you wanted.
The whole rest of the day arguing.
This is what you guys wanted. This is what you asked for. Now you got it. No. This is people the NCAA
brutal.
spent 8 figures battling this. If they spent that time and money to work together to come up with a system that benefits all parties, we wouldn't be here right now.
NCAA is more than fine doing this so that they can come in and be we need to put guardrails on this, and then it goes right back to where it was.
Told you guys, this is what we tried to tell you. This is what we were fighting against, Oh, it's so disingenuous. Braden Gall, who's not disingenuous. You know what? What a perfect week to not talk about the local team specifically. What a great week to not do that. We'll do that next week.
Those quarterbacks in the state of Kansas need to get their stuff together.
I don't know what we're talking about because whenever you beat Kansas, the price goes up. So things change around here.
Sluka beats Kansas and demands more. All right.
Well, and hey, if your quarterback plays my alma mater, NC State and Oklahoma, he ends up never playing again. So
that's a good point.
Tennessee's defense, Tennessee's defense likes to. They have a long tail effect on your program these days.
The state of Oklahoma was pulling
Go
some
Vols.
starting quarterbacks this weekend. That's for sure. Tennessee looks really, really good. Braden Gall, owner of the 440 Sports Podcast Network, ESPN Radio, Athlon Sports. What's that, Sterling? What's you want to?
You let him get a go Vols.
What's wrong?
You let him say go Vols on these airwaves?
Yeah, why not?
Go Cats. Go Cats.
Why not? Why can't he say go Vols? He's a Vol.
What else am I supposed to say?
Yeah, he's an alum.
I get it. I get it.
get that
As
he's
a
an alum?
Mizzou alum, that hurts me a little bit here.
Why would it hurt you? They don't play this year.
I don't care. They've been very unkind to my Tigers. They've been very unkind. DGB. Oh, DGB.
Braden, if you want to, go ahead and drop a go Vols again if you need to.
All I heard was iron unkind. That's all I heard.
That's right. Braden, you're the man. Appreciate you, brother, as always.
All right, boys.
All right, see you. There's Braden Gall, owner of 440 Sports Podcast
DGB.
Network.
Okay, all I got to bring up is when the 3 overtime game against the Vols. I was at that game. I went to Tennessee, and DGB, on his hand, supposedly, as legend has it, drew up the final play and basically was like, hey, give me the ball. I'm running this route. And they won.
They did, yeah.
Go
So
Tigers.
Why are you hating Tennessee?
Nobody cares.
They're so mean. Vols fans are so mean to Mizzou fans.
Really? I don't know. Braden's always been great.
He's great.
Maybe it's just you. Schaefer. We'll get his thoughts on.
He was so normal during the Royals game last night. He was so calm,
cool,
collected,
careless. That is normal. He is normally calm. Mick Schaefer and I were of the same mind last night on 2 different tweets, and I'm annoyed in that he beat me like by a minute or 30 seconds.
Well, you
both
saw
times.
his, and then you decided to copy paste.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's
But
the one
like,
thing.
change it a little bit.
You know, everybody knows.
Teacher,
Yep.
change it a little bit.
Right. And as long as I've known Mick and followed him, last night's the night I chose to do that. Out of all the funny tweets, last
you were
night's the
Dolph
night.
Kleiman. You were the content aggregator of Mick.
I'm aggregating Mick Schaefer. We'll do that next, actually. Ding, 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 ding.
I don't know if there's ever been a better kind of run-out song, walk-up song than this.
Welcome to the jungle. And high school
It's a
football
great one.
wants to.
This is Mill Valley Footballs is when they run out every single night.
Hell's Bells is pretty good. Trevor Hoffman coming in. It's ominous.
What's what opens the program every day?
I would
Hell's Bells.
Is that Hell's Bells?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to go with. That's when I was trying to get to it. I was leaning at the tape, but I got beat. I got beat at the tape. I was just going to say, I know this. If
Petrol's Bells.
If I had my choice, I'd open up a show with Hell's Bells. That's just me.
No.
I would have with a song that
somebody an original,
an OG for Jason.
You
Anderson.
make on GarageBand on your computer.
An original. Yeah,
Higher Ground by Chili Peppers is pretty good. It's
great.
That covers a. That's
For a certain audience, yeah, but
that's pretty.
Hey,
good.
I'm in that audience.
Yeah, me too.
Interstate all-time classic though.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.
Yeah. Mick.
Yeah.
Rock and Roll Part 2.
I like 3.
I love. I celebrate the entire franchise.
The original was better.
I loved Rock and Roll Part 8, Tokyo Drift.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Matthew Sluka is drifting away from UNLV.
Oh boy.
And he
Okay,
is
Uncle Cracker.
going to. I don't know what that means.
Drift away.
Oh,
yeah, but I was going with
yeah.
the Tokyo Drift.
I was just trying to keep this thing going.
Okay.
Yeah, we were moving on.
Moving on like Matthew Sluka.
Moving on and getting over like I'm John Mayer.
See, there we go. Now let's keep it going, shall we? Matthew Sluka, who I barely knew outside of the game
KU
against
game.
KU, and it's like, oh, that guy runs really well.
Okay, are you going to blame this on Barry Odom?
No.
I think you should.
No, why not? Everything else is his fault. But Matthew Sluka is transferring from UNLV. He's redshirting now. The story as it goes, and let me bring up all of from today. Matthew Sluka last night, 11:56 before midnight. Make sure that was, I guess, 9:56 his time, so he wanted to do it before 10 o'clock and he went to bed. Says, I've decided to utilize my redshirt year and will not be playing in any additional games this season. I committed to UNLV based on certain representations that were made to me, which were not upheld after I enrolled. Despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season and hope for the continued success of the program. Carl Reed Jr., who is a longtime high school coach in St. Louis, with a lot of high-level DeSmet. I would name a few
CBC?
others if I could think of them. Sure.
Did he coach
Christian
Brothers, CBC?
Yep. So you go. There we go. Yep, absolutely nailed it. He tweets out, and being a guy with the commitments or the connections in St. Louis and let's say Missouri, let's say, I don't know, maybe former defensive coordinator, maybe former head coach of Mizzou, that's now at UNLV. Carl Reed tweets out, says, all financial commitments for UNLV QB Matthew Sluka were completely met. But after wins against Houston and KU, Sluka's family hired an agent and they collectively feel that his market value has increased per source. I don't know who the source is. I think it's Ari Bodum, but I'm not sure. Pete Thamel then tweets out, per UNLV QB Matthew Sluka's NIL representation, Marcus Cromartie, one of Antonio's kids, I'm guessing. He works for Equity Sports. That Antonio doesn't remember his name either. He told ESPN that Sluka was verbally promised a minimum of $100,000 from a UNLV assistant coach for transferring there. None of that money was paid, per Cromartie. Once Sluka enrolled there was no effort by UNLV's collective to formalize a contract at that amount. Months after Sluka enrolled and Cromartie's made multiple efforts with the staff and school to address the issue. He said the school and collective came back with a contract of $3,000 per month for the next 4 months. That's $88,000 less than what Cromartie said UNLV verbally promised up front. The only money Sluka has received from UNLV per Cromartie is a $3,000 relocation stipend for his move. Cromartie said there was never an ask for more money after UNLV's hot start, only the initial amount he was promised up front.
And free education, which I'm sure he's really interested in.
No.
Okay.
He's already graduated, though, I'm pretty sure, actually.
When that didn't,
from Holy Cross, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was at Holy Cross
When
before.
that didn't come,
that actually doesn't matter to him.
Yeah. When that didn't come, he evaluated his options, decided to play elsewhere next year. The redshirt will allow him to play a full spring in a new school and develop with a trainer this fall. He enrolled in July at UNLV after graduating from Holy Cross and missed spring football. I So this story has lots and lots and lots of different layers, or as I said in the first hour,
Lots of stories, right? Lots of sides.
Like the
you
Texas,
said earlier. He
like
said.
Like the Texas reporter said, unfolding this onion there. But you've got UNLV saying he got everything he was promised through a source and their person. Then you've got the Equity Sports and Saluka telling Pete Thamel, no, this is what happened. And then you've got the truth somewhere. I don't know what the truth is going to be. It's somewhere. I'm not sure.
Well, the problem, it's
exactly
not in
what
writing,
either side
right?
said.
That's the deal, and that's the problem with all of
Seems
this.
Pretty dumb if this thing was not in writing to think that you would then get that.
That agent should be canned.
Well, I don't think that's the thing. Is did he have? Because Carl Reed said he got an agent and representation after the hot start.
Yeah.
This just says his representation from Equity Sports doesn't say this guy represented him when he transferred. It's just now his representative is telling you the story that Matthew Sluka has told them that they are looking for this $100,000.
I mean, I guarantee you it was an assistant coach recruiting him, popping off and saying, hey, man, you come here. Yeah, we can get you $100,000. Absolutely.
Get you $100,000. I can get you $100,000 tomorrow with nail polish. I mean, you want a toe? I get you a toe. But also,
same stuff.
He's worth that. If they're 3-0 and he's playing well and they're almost in the top 25,
I heard Brandon say that. Is he? I don't know what a guy that just came out of FCS and has played 3 games in the Mountain West.
Here's the thing: I wouldn't know if he was worth it before. But if I'm 3-0 and he's the reason why I'm 3-0 in the way he's played and he's leading our team in rushing, leading our team in passing, we're number 29 in the country. We're one of the favorites of the Group of 5. We got our huge conference slate starting, this week, and if we win these games, UNLV's on the map of making the college football playoff at UNLV. Pac-12 is trying to come get us, and we're saying, yeah, if you want us to join, we want a full share. Oh, by the way, we just played in the college football playoff. We'll take that full share in the Pac-12 money there, buddy, or we'll stay in the Mountain West. That's worth a lot of money from a marketing standpoint for that player.
But you have to imagine, what kind of precedent do you want to set if you're UNLV? A guy has a really good start and comes to him like, I need more money, or I'm going.
If that's what happened.
If that's what happened, then but clearly a contract wasn't out there or hasn't surfaced that they signed him to it and promised him via legal routes.
Yes.
I just have a question for you guys because I feel like I don't pay attention to it enough if I haven't seen this, but this feels like the first time where a college is on the short end of the stick versus the player in these NIL situations, where it always seems like the player's not getting paid, the player doesn't get paid, he has to transfer because he was the Florida situation.
Yeah. The only time the college has been on the short end of the stick is when somebody transfers away.
Yeah.
But not to where it's
not
like,
with the NIL issue.
Yeah, not with an NIL
Not like
specific.
hey, you didn't pay me, so I'm not playing anymore. This is like the first time where the player has, exercised any power.
Because Rashada never played it at that school, and he's suing Florida of money that he didn't get. But he never played. He wasn't 3 games in. It wasn't this hot start. You weren't selling a bunch of tickets and merchandise around the program and people starting to gather some momentum around it. You didn't have that stuff happening at Florida.
Right.
You just had a promise that wasn't held, and then he didn't go there.
The reason why I asked, though, is this what
allegedly
maybe gets us to a collective bargaining agreement between the schools and the players, because finally a school's on the short end of the stick with this NIL issue because of an agent, because of a lack of because the NFL and every other professional league has a standard contract that everyone kind of has to abide by. You can kind of go either way, certain areas, but as far as the money, the years, the terms, and how all the buyouts work, it's all the same. Like, remember that Florida kid who had to sign away, 14% of his career earnings just to get $100,000? Like, that's where I think a collective bargaining agreement would work to protect both sides.
I think the schools would love to have this. The problem is the schools in the NCAA fought it for so long.
And they'll go way over
that
the top.
Now it's gotten to the point to where the players are going, okay, so what power should we give up for you now to do this? We tried to work with you for a long time. The schools are definitely in line of, hey, let's get some guardrails. Let's figure this thing out. Let's come together and try to do something here. But the problem is there's nobody that can collectively, Sterling, represent the players, where like the union for the NFL does that. Who's collectively representing the players if they come together to come up with these particular guardrails?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, but I just don't understand where Sluka's necessarily coming from in totality, because he's averaging 106 yards passing a game.
Yeah, I saw it. When I saw the 300 some yards, I'm like, that's a lot for last game. Oh, that's
against KU he was 7 of 13
that's
for
the
like
whole
80
season.
yards. Yeah.
He's completing 43% of his passes.
Yeah, but
he's a great runner.
And so I saw that too. I'm like, okay, that makes him worth it. I guess he can just.
I think that's more of an issue because now
he can go in and turn in his jersey, Rudy style.
All these other
to
players
Barry Odom
that are 10 times better than this kid are looking at their agents and looking at their family like, whoa, we can do that.
But where does he think he's going?
Right, or maybe,
he's going to transfer to where? Back to Holy Cross?
or maybe, like, to your point, Sterling, maybe the coaching staff was there and went, you want more money? No, I'm going to leave.
Okay, well,
okay.
Maybe that's a great point. Maybe that's part of like, okay, you're not going to hold us hostage. You're not.
We appreciate what you've done.
You're not Randall Cunningham or Kenny Mayne.
Yeah, there you go.
Two great UNLV quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. But you've been good for us. It's great. You've been here 5 minutes. You didn't get here in the spring. We've got a guy who was our backup last year. We have another guy who's a freshman that got here in the spring.
That could be the other part of it. UNLV could be like, okay, this is fine.
Well, yeah, Frank Haith told Mike Alden he was going to interview at Tulsa, and they said, do you want to take the Mizzou plane? Would you like to take our private jet to get there? Well, no, I'll take the job. Okay. I'll do it. I'm going to take, you give me a raise or I'm taking this Tulsa job. Again, what are you waiting for? We've got it gassed up.
Right.
It's idling right now. Would you like to take, fine, I'm taking the Tulsa job. Okay, why are you still in my office? Take the Tulsa job. That could be something here of like, I'm going to sit out. I'm going to transfer. I'm going to redshirt.
They didn't play last week, right? Or they're entering a bye week. So I wonder. That's when you make your quarterback change, man. It is. And I think you're onto something there. So I wonder if like both sides are like, okay, we're good. This is much ado about nothing.
All right, let's go. The other part is like, and we'll take a break. They had to get this guy from Holy Cross because their starting quarterback transferred to USC, where he's currently backing up the quarterback. He's a backup at USC. And
dude, Alan Bowman, Oklahoma State's current starter, left Texas Tech to go be the third string in Michigan.
That's right. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. There's a few other things I want to talk about with this. And the Royals. You can't stop them. You can hold them scoreless for 9 innings and 27 innings, but not 28.
Not 28.
Not 28. Not 10 innings. Not more than 9 innings in one game. No, not this Royals offense. I was thinking about this with the players and the transfer portal and Matthew Sluka specifically of no, I'm gonna I was either promised this, I didn't get it, or I'm now outperforming my level of promise. I'm worth more. I would like to get a raise, as Mike Gundy said. It's not happening. Stop asking for a raise. We gave you the money. And it's these damn athletes these days, we villainize the athletes. And it's where'd you learn that from? It's remember the old marijuana weed commercial?
I learned it from watching you.
I learned it from watching you. It's these kids these days demanding more money and just saying they're going to leave or go somewhere else if they don't get the best deal, that they've outperformed that. Where'd you learn that? Well, conference realignment. So that's us. You're not old enough to do that.
Head coaches.
You're too young to be doing weed and reefer.
NFL player holdouts where we wonder why they're not at practice.
Yeah.
Yes, UNLV specifically is talking about joining the Pac-12, but they want a bigger share of the money, and this could help them get that. So they're like, no, we don't want a half share of Pac-12 money. We want a full share if we're going to leave the Mountain West. Well, why aren't you staying at the Mountain West? Well, we want more money. Well, why do you think you deserve more money? Well, because we've outperformed the Mountain West. Right, but you have a contract with the Mountain West that you have certain obligations. Yeah, but we'd like more, so we're going to go over here in the middle of our contract with this particular conference.
They actually average 107 yards per game, not 106.
That's right.
It's a good call. Good call.
Yeah, and so, I've been talking about for a long time, ever since, it became cool to skip the bowl game because I'm too good, right, and all that. And I'm old. I know this will get me kicked off talk radio. I hate that, and I feel like that's quitting on your team.
Can we get security?
No.
Dravetta, can we get Dravetta in here? He's tipping. Dravetta, Curtis, can we get those guys in here? We need security.
But I've always said, what's stopping these guys? Because, it's just a meaningless bowl game. I'm like, all right, what's stopping you from saying, hey, my team's 6-3 right now. I'm not going to play these last 3 games of the regular season. Those are meaningless too. I can make the argument that all of life is meaningless right now, okay? But what's stopping these guys from doing that? Now we're at the point, these guys, I'm like, what's stopping you from quitting midseason? Now we're here already, and it's not even for the NFL. I'm quitting midseason for another college.
Another college that I don't even know where I'm going yet, unless he does know where he's going. And then heaven forbid if there's tampering in college football with the transfer portal. All these kids when the transfer portal opens and they transfer somewhere, they have decided that quickly where they're going to go. They know exactly where they're going to go that quickly, and they haven't even talked to coaches.
It's like free agent day in the NFL, and it's all of a sudden, right, 12:01?
Legal.
You 1 minute to get that together?
48-hour legal tampering. So these big contracts on the first day of free agency, it only takes 48 hours of recruiting and talking.
It's all boilerplate. It's just boilerplate.
That's right.
Yeah, and these guardrails are going to be like, the 8 security guards trying to stop a court storm, right? That's what these guardrails, if they ever get them in place, are going to be.
The GIF of the security guard.
What about the GIF?
Both of them.
Okay.
That's slowly, just sort of nonchalantly, checking somebody.
Yes,
go ahead. Yep,
those will be the guardrails.
It's there you go. Just go ahead. But at least transfer portal, I get it that people aren't fans of it, but at least the transfer portal is a two-way street. Conference realignment is not. That's a regressive tax on college football because you're just going down and tearing up the conference below you and tearing up the conference below you. At least the transfer portal, there are plenty of players that transferred from bigger school.
Well, I'm sure
school,
every year you have 2 schools that are shuttling guys back and forth.
Right, you've got guys that transfer from
Oklahoma State do that now.
Right, a power 5 now that there's no Pac-12, so Power 5 basketball to mid-major, or now the group of 4 college football.
Tyron Hopper. Not Tyron Hopper. There was a linebacker last year for Mizzou that was from Florida.
It was Hopper.
It was Hopper. Yeah, it was Hopper.
He's there a couple of years, but he transferred from
Florida, and then he went to Mizzou.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy from South Carolina who went to Mizzou. That's SEC.
Mm-hmm. But there's some players, and I can't remember who, but there was some college basketball mid-majors this year that were pretty good, and it was this guy played at this guy originally went to Duke, or he originally went to Kentucky, and then he transferred down here, and now look, he's getting all this playing time. Yeah, that happens. Just as some of those kids that you're developing go higher, some of those kids that went higher now drop down. There's no two-way street in conference realignment. No. It's done with that. And the Mountain West and Pac-12.
It's robbing the poor to pay the rich.
Yeah. And the Pac-12 is, I know that they got destroyed and they got picked apart, but it's not even the Pac-12. It's just Oregon State and Washington State. The audacity and gall to sue and try to get out of the the contract breaking money penalties that are required contractually by not only the schools, but by Oregon State and Washington State, when they needed 6 more games and they approached the Mountain West, and the Mountain West said, okay, but we need you to sign this contract that says that you will not poach our Mountain West schools. We will offer you membership, but you will not take our schools. And they signed it. And in that agreement, it said each school is going to cost $10 million if you poach them. The second school is going to cost $500,000 more than the 10. The third school, they have poached 5 schools. They are trying to get out of the $55 million that they owe the Mountain West on a contract they signed because they were desperate to fill out a football schedule. The Mountain West gave them a lifeline, and then they killed them. They reached their hand out, and they pulled them into the pool to get out of the pool. Like, I gotcha. And then they're like, no. But we also, their argument is we signed that under duress, so we don't owe you that money.
Oh, my God.
That's the actual argument. It's a fruit of a poison tree. It's not a legal
I don't know
agreement.
why I thought if UNLV and this quarterback had anything in writing, if that would matter in this whole deal.
Yes,
it probably
right.
wouldn't, like
They
everything
are
else.
arguing it's fruit of the poison tree that anything they signed was under duress. Therefore, it is not legally standing.
Oh, my God.
Like,
good luck.
The Mountain West did, I think it was Pat Forty that said the farmer and the snake. The snake that was almost dead because it was frozen. The farmer brings it into the house and warms it up. It lives and it bites the farmer and kills him. Like, well, hold on. I just saved your life. Yeah, but I'm also a snake. What did you think was going to happen? I just saved your life.
I'm also a Pac-12.
I just saved your life, Pac-12.
What is it? The
Yeah, but we're the Pac-12. You're the Mountain West.
The scorpion and the turtle, or
Scorpion. Yeah, you knew what I was.
You knew what I was.
Or the frog, scorpion, the frog.
You're right.
You knew what I was when we were crossing the farmer saved the snake's life.
Well,
and then
I think the snake can be changed.
you can. What are you going to marry it? I think I can change the snake. I really do. I think I can get.
Also,
the
the Pac-12. I don't understand. Maybe it's, I guess, the commissioner and all that stuff. But if I'm those 2 schools, just join the Mountain West.
Yeah, but no, they've got.
You think it'd be easier?
No, 5 schools.
It would be easier to go that way.
No, they got the 5 schools that have agreed to leave the Mountain West now.
It's not like the Pac-12, in my opinion, is going to
be
one of the Power 5. I think that's done either way.
And then they're going to get. I think they're eventually going to get UNLV. UNLV's holding out still, but
so congrats on being a decent group of 4.
Right. It's just again, it's. Bringing, it'd be a group of 5.
Group of 5, I guess.
They would not. There's no way they can keep.
They're never going to be a power conference. Yeah, they're not.
No way they can keep Power 5 status. But they don't want to join the conference that has some of the lower level teams in the Mountain West. They want to bring the top teams from the Mountain West to the Pac-12 and build them up to be a better, more structurally sound, more competitive, across-the-board football conference. And they killed the farmer.
I just told them I'm alive when they get back to the Big 8. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
Okay.
You know what I think is going to happen? Here's what should happen. I think we get to a point to where we have the college football playoff, and we have a number of teams that can get in, but then it becomes like instead of these conferences that are cross-country and everything, you regionalize it to a degree, right? And so you say,
Sounds radical.
You take a bunch of schools from like the West Coast, right? And you have them play a bunch of games against each other. Then you take some teams from, say, I don't know, like the Midwest or something. Then like the Northeast or the Southeast or maybe even just the entire coast of the Atlantic.
What about the fans of these schools that have to live amongst each other? Do you think that would develop some sort of ire and some sort of rivalry?
Well, the thing is, like, you want to avoid having any vitriol between fans. Okay. So maybe having an entire country's space will help that. But I think it's probably it's collateral damage is what it's just going to be to regionalize this. I think one day we should get to a point in college football where we can regionalize these games. And maybe like 4 areas, and you could just say like they're a conference or something.
What about all the oil companies who won't be getting as much money because they won't be traveling as much in planes and cars and buses? Have you thought about that?
Have you ever thought about the oil companies?
Why don't people think of the oil companies? Have you no shame? Have you no shame to not think of the oil companies?
That's the real part of this argument everybody's ignoring.
There it is, and we'll find out in November how much the college football landscape affects the presidential race in oil. A lot of people said once Texas went to the SEC, price of barrel it went up. It went up. It's in the SEC. It means more now. More so next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Mick Schaefer, Dylan Michaels, heading up until 2 o'clock. Let's hear Bobby Witt. This was on the field last night there in Washington. They beat the Nationals because nobody can hold this offense down for 10 innings in one night, no, especially a AAA team. So here's Bobby Witt with Joe Goldberg after the game was over on the field about finally breaking the 7-game losing streak.
All right, guys, Bobby Witt Jr., putting the ball in play, making something happen. Beyond that play, what's the relief like for this team right now? You were on the bases, but the fist pumping and the smiles in that dugout on that play really said a lot.
Yeah, pitching staff, bullpen, they kept us in this game. We're grinding out there at the plate. This is the start of something special right here, right now, and we're just going to build off this and keep going forward.
It's not for lack of effort. Maybe sometimes human nature, you just try a little bit too hard to. How did you keep on grinding, not just over the last week, but tonight? Big opportunity in the first inning. It didn't work out. How are you guys able to keep pushing?
We're just trying to go out there and just play the game. We're not trying to, we can't play to lose. We can't try to play to win. We just got to go out there and play the game and enjoy every moment of it and just really like you said, grind it out. And so we were in a little skid there, but one of these games like this is something special. So this is what we're going to try to keep doing, build off this, celebrate it, enjoy it, and then move on to tomorrow.
We're on the road. There were MVP chants going in the midst of the hearts pounding. This feels like playoff baseball. What do you think?
Yeah, it's the start of something special. Like I said earlier, we needed this, and we're going to enjoy it and then focus on tomorrow.
There go the MVP chants. Before we let you go, you're so locked in. All these guys are locked in. What can you say about this group? It seems like every time you've had adversity, you've been able to bounce back.
Yeah, we got a special group in there, and a lot of people are out there doubting us that we shouldn't be in this situation, and so we didn't come this far just to come this far. We're going to keep competing and keep enjoying these moments like this.
Enjoy the win, and we'll see you back tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mick, we haven't come this far to only come this far.
I've heard that before. Listen, I hope a 1-0 win in extra innings on the heels of a 7-game losing streak is the start of something special. I'd like to see some more, but this is a bad Nationals team. Honestly, this is a team that you should beat tonight. You should beat tomorrow. I mean, if you have any sense of urgency, right? Because they have none. They were like, here's the game. Take it at some point here. Take it at some point.
Yeah.
Royals finally took it.
It's like the Nationals did not want to play 11 innings, so they're like, let's go ahead and just boot this. Go ahead and just boot it.
Make it look real, though.
Color me skeptical if I think the lid has not been, pried off the rim at this point.
But I do wonder, like, baseball is crazy. It's weird if, you get a couple of runs early. I say if. Like, hey, last night, if you can get a couple of runs early, got bases loaded, nobody out, and somehow didn't come up with a run on a line drive rocket to the shortstop, but they get the run on a slow roller. That was an error at first. That's how you score a run.
It was Bobby Witt's speed. That created that run. End of story.
Absolutely, yeah, because he busts every time there's a ground ball to the left side. He's running as
fast
as he can.
Nobody else is that shortstop who had a great game prior. Nobody else is he going to bust it that hard, and anybody else he's going to feel that cleanly and not have to double pump and create that throw.
Absolutely. And so I'm wondering, hoping that, okay, you relax a little bit. You exhale. You're not gripping the bat as tight as we joked yesterday with Les about, the home run hitter from Rookie of the Year in Henry Rowan-Gardner, that guy, when he was gripping the bat, the sawdust was coming off, right? Of course, then, oddly enough, we have the Rookie of the Year moment last night. What are the odds of that? But, don't do that. It feels like Tommy Pham is trying to fight the baseball when it's up there. He's not trying to hit the baseball. He's trying to,
so
beat
many
it up
big
with
swings, too, with 2 outs. So many strikeouts when,
the 3-2 chase pitch.
Killer.
Change up away. And,
and then MJ watches one right down the middle.
But he did turn on that pitch. That was a fastball. He got
might
there.
not still know what that pitch was that he threw him, because it buckled him on 3-2. It was a splitter.
That was a good pitch, but it ended up legitimately middle.
But they won the game, and maybe now it's all right.
It's so funny, man, how disastrous of a 10 days. They've had this first win in 10 days, and they're still in the same position they were to start that stretch because they had the tiebreaker over the Tigers. 2 games feels huge at this point, right, with 5 games left to go. If you have another night like last night where you can win and Minnesota and Seattle can lose, dare I say, it's almost sewed up at that point.
Don't
No, it is.
Not
He just said if.
Not until.
He didn't say it
did
is.
I do it again?
This guy.
Oh, man.
You said if those things happen.
Man.
Harrison Butker can make it with even 6 feet.
Yeah.
He did not
Can
say
you
it
believe
was
there's
sewed
people
up.
out there that actually believe that matters?
You're a
Man.
sports director. You direct sports.
He did not say it is sewed up. He said if these things happen, it would be.
And even if it did, it still wouldn't be sewed up. You got to finish the stitches, pal.
Yeah, it'd be 3
Finish
games
suture.
to 4, 3-game lead with a 4 to play.
Yeah. Make sure the sutures are all put in there, guy.
If the Royals go 2-3 the rest of the way, Minnesota needs to go 4-1.
Yes. I honestly think 2 wins does it.
Yeah.
We didn't come this far, just come this far.
You damn right. Hey, as we go to break, let's hear Joey Gallo's swing as experienced by every Royals fan as we send it to break last night.
Belted to right field. Hooking.
Go foul, go foul.
Stay fair.
Go foul.
Stay fair, stay fair.
Go fair, go foul.
It's fair.
It's foul.
It's fair.
It's foul.
Foul.
Please go foul.
No. Foul. My heart stopped.
Same.
Absolutely.
That was
Rookie of the
those are
year.
the baseball gods right there, because every good swing the Royals have had for the past 8 or 9 days has been a line drive right down the line foul, or any big hit. It's been hooking around the foul pole and going foul. So that was necessary there. Royals are good at baseball now. Chiefs are better at their sport. Sporting, go get a win tonight.